And we're live. There we go. Welcome in. It is The Rant with me, Pugs Moran, every day around about noon, right here from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful south side of Chicago. We run a show that is designed to bring hot topics and current events. Did you guys just hear that? And we're live.
Oh, I get what's happening.
There we go. Welcome in. It is The Rant with me, Pugs Moran, every day around about noon, right here from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studio. Can you guys hear that, chat room? This is important to me. Right now, can you guys hear, not right now, but I'm going to hit it in a minute. I want you to tell me if you can hear this. Studios in the beautiful south side of Chicago.
Can you hear me talking twice
that is designed
right now in the chat room? Yes or no?
That's all I need to know. Yes or no? Please help me out here. Be a little bit of... Can you hear that?
Can you hear me twice?
And we're live.
Oh, I get what's happening.
There we go. Welcome in.
That's all.
Just looking, just a little for my own edification here, trying to figure something out. I mean, I know what I did there, why I was distracted, but I was wondering if you were distracted by that as well. Okay, so what do we do here? We do talk for normal people. What are normal people? Normal people are people who you can still have a dinner with and not end up screaming at in the parking lot, okay? Normal people are people who are still invited to your family's Thanksgiving. Normal people are people who have never been kicked off an airplane and then gone viral because they're screaming about something. You know what I'm talking about. Normal people have never been arrested at either a Target or a Walmart or a grocery store or whatever because they just couldn't get past what the store had put on display. Normal people are welcome here. I don't want any radicalized weirdos. I don't want any of the 15% on the right that walk around with their MAGA hats. I don't want any of the 15% on the left that are talking about getting a group together and protesting the Tesla dealership. I don't want any of that nonsense. The rest of us, 15 on the right are gone, 15 on the left are gone. The rest of us, 70%, that's who this show is for. And today, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got Nancy Guthrie stuff we're going to get into, the latest there. We're going to talk about Epstein, of course, Epstein. Not going to do too much on Blondie. Attorney General Blondie yesterday. Not going to do much about that. That's whatever. I got other Epstein stuff that I want to talk about besides that little circus sideshow that they gave us yesterday. What else are we going to talk about? We got this story. Now, this is an old story. This is from back when I was in Texas, but it's getting more attention now because, well, as we've seen recently in this country, when our Department of Justice or when our investigative services fail to act or refuse to act for whatever reason, we're seeing other countries getting involved. And that's why this story of a father who murdered his daughter in Prosper, Texas is getting new attention, even though it happened well over a year ago. So we're going to break that story down because I don't remember talking about it. I was on the air in North Texas. We were doing this show when this story was happening, and this would have been a story I would have talked about. But I don't know that it got a whole bunch of attention its first time around. So we're going to talk about it today. We're also going to mourn the passing of a couple of people. You know, I like to keep track of the celebrity deaths in any year. I like to keep a running order of what the celebrity death trilogies are for the year, because as we know, celebrities all die in threes. They die within 10 days of each other, and 3 celebrities who die within 3 days of each other or 10 days of each other become a trilogy. And what is the purpose of that trilogy? Well, it's really just, for space in heaven. God likes to keep the celebrities in their own wing. Got a celebrity wing. So when celebrities die in threes, they all have to live together in an apartment, a nice little condo development. Celebrity estates is what they call it up there in heaven. And they all live together. So this year, 2026, started out a little bit slow, man. We had to wait till like the 9th, I think, to get Bob Weir. Was Bob Weir the first one? I don't know. Bob Weir was a big one. Anyway, the year is rolling, and they are coming fast and furious. We had a big one yesterday. A big one. Dawson. That's right. JVB. Did anybody call him JVB? I don't remember anybody ever calling James Vanderbeek JVB, but seems like it should have been. James Vanderbeek died. So we're going to get into that. But not only James Vanderbeek, other celebrities have died who, just because of all the nonsense that's going on in the world, we completely glossed over. So we'll do a full accounting of where the Celebrity Death Trilogy for 2026 stands with the addition of James Van Der Beek. Who's he going in with? Is James Van Der Beek going in with Catherine O'Hara? And we'll have to see. We'll see. We'll do that. What else? We got a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, hey, I wanted to tell you guys about an experience that I had recently. Doesn't that sound like I'm about to go into a commercial? It does, doesn't it? Hey, let me tell you about a recent experience I had at the old grocery store when I needed some new ketchup, and I found Burt's Ketchup. Burt's Ketchup. I'll tell you, I've raised on Heinz and Hunt's. Look at me, just free balling a commercial for a fictional product. I am so good. I am so good. Anyway, I had an experience the other day, and I've been wanting to talk about it, but I figured why not try it now? So recently, upon my move back to Illinois, I've been trying to get my driver's license and all that stuff. Just I need to get it nude. Nude? Is that the word? I need to get my driver's license renewed. And there's a whole bunch of complications on it. None of my own doing. It's not like I've got 15 DUIs or anything like that, but it's kind of a mess. Establishing residency, when you don't have, an actual lease because I'm staying at mom's house. Establishing residency. Although maybe I established residency here at the Kelly Moore Studios. I don't know. Anyway, so I went in, and many of you know, dealing with people at the DMV, if that's what you call it. We call it the DMV because of Hollywood movies. Because in California, that's what they call it, the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's not what we call it here in Illinois. Here in Illinois, it's the Secretary of State's office. You have to go to the Secretary of State. You don't go to, there's no DMV. I don't know, what do we call it in Texas? Is it called the DMV? Or is it called getting your driver's license? I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, so I go down to this bureaucratic operation where, the great unwashed are. I'll tell you, you want to see what America is? Go sit in a waiting room of some bureaucratic government office. Go sit at the Social Security office. Go sit at the driver's license place. The driver's license place is pretty good because driver's license place, you just get everybody. It's very interesting. But nobody likes to go to these places. Why? Because the people who work there are good people. They're us. The people who we hate at the Secretary of State's office or the DMV, they're just us, okay? They're, in any other context, take them out of that place and put them, I don't know, at your block party, put them at your kid's basketball game, put them at some party, put them in a bar for a mutual friend who's celebrating 50 years on this earth. Those people will be totally normal and exactly like you. But something happens to these people when they step inside the Department of Motor Vehicles where they become goblins. They become monsters. They become trolls. They are some of the most unpleasant people to deal with. And I'm already going in there with like a little bit of a fuck. Is this going to work? Do I have the right paperwork? Because they're very, very litigious about paperwork. Well, I don't know. This number looks a little smudged. I don't know if we can accept that as a second form of residency. Let me ask my supervisor. And then they disappear. And there's like 40 people in line behind you. And now you're the guy that's got to have it's an absolute wreck. And we all hate the experience of going to these things mutually. We all agree. Yes. Okay. Thank you, guys. You can hear that. So Leslie is saying in the chat room, yes, you can hear it. Yes. Thank you, Leslie. Okay. Oh, really? Only one person responded to that. We got way more people in the chat room. One person said yes. When something else is playing, you can hear it. That's good to know, though. So thank you. Where was I? Department of Motor Vehicles. Apparently, Adam says that in Texas, they call it the Department of Public Safety. Okay, Department of Public Safety in Texas. That's right. DPS. That's right. That makes sense. That sounds very familiar to me. So Chicago is Secretary of State. Texas is Department of Public Safety, and in California and everywhere else, we all just think it's called the DMV because Hollywood, everybody in Hollywood lives there. So when they write this stuff, they write it as the DMV. Okay, so we got that straight. What is sort of a universal connection among all of these different tags we put on these places is that they're all awful. We can all agree that they are all just awful. So recently I had to go through this, and I've been meaning to talk about it, but I've been wanting to put a little bit of So I had to go do this. So I walked in, and folks, I tell you all the time on this show that life is about choices. Life is about, you can absolutely, these are the things that I've learned in therapy. And I know you get sick and tired of hearing me talking about the toolbox, but years and years of therapy has given me a toolbox that I can lean on in situations where I might turn into an asshole, right? We all have these, we all have our triggers, right? So what happens when we get triggered? Do we just go off because we got triggered, or do we have the tools to emotionally control what we do next? And that's one of the things that I lean on. I have those tools. I've worked hard to attain those tools, and I've gone through a lot of shit in my life to get to a point where those tools were offered to me. So utilizing the choice therapy option, making choices. Now, what is this about? So you get up there and the person is grumpy, right? The person's in a bad mood. Next, can I see your papers? I need your social security card, and I need some form of red. They're just like very monotone because you're just the 50th person in a row that they've dealt with, and it's only 9:30. You have the choice. You have the choice to either meet that energy, or you can try and change the mood. Right? So that's the choice. And you got to go in and you got to force your energy. So I had this situation. I had this woman who's just, staring at me like she's a robot. And I walk up to her, black woman, probably in her 50s. I walk up, big fucking smile, man. Because seriously, she's just looking at people that don't want to be there because nobody wants to be there. So I walk up, big smile, and I'm like, how are you? And she's like, I'm fine. She's not even making eye contact until I keep the fucking energy going where I'm like, wow. I go, this place is crowded today. I go, you guys, here's what I said to her. I go, you guys, I don't know, this state. First of all, here's the thing that everybody who works for the state in a bureaucracy knows. They know the state is fucked up, and they would like to hear you tell them that you understand the state is fucked up and it is absolutely not their fault, that they are just someone. You do that, you will immediately, at least I experienced an immediate change in this woman. She looked up at me, she smiled, and she started calling me by my first name. Right? That's a thing because they've got all your documents. So the Mr. This, Mrs. That, Mr. That. No, now she's got me by the first name. And I'm like, okay. And then so I ask her, I say, what's your name? And she says, my name is Angela. And all of a sudden, me and Angela, we're like vibing. So what happens here? Now, I anticipated that there might be a couple of issues with the stuff that I was presenting. And that in any normal case, Angela would probably go, no, you need to get this and you need to come back. Next. And then I'm like, fuck. So I was desperately afraid of that. So I'm talking to Angela. I'm telling her stories. I'm making shit up. You got to be charming. You got to sell it, man. Have you seen the president of the United States? You got to sell everything. So I'm like, well, he's like, Angela, I don't know what I'm doing here, right? If you do that, if you present yourself as somebody who desperately needs their help, you will find that humans, when given an opportunity to help someone, especially if it's easy for them, they will help you because they like to feel superior. So I went in, Angela, I don't know. I'm all confused. I don't know about this real ID. And Angela, I'll be honest with you. I'm just trying to make sure that I can get on a plane and see my new grandson in Texas. And I just need to be able to get on a plane, and I haven't seen the baby yet. And I showed her a picture of my kid on my phone. I went like this. I went, Angela, this is my grandson. Oh, I owned her at that point. And guess what? When I didn't have the second form of, I didn't have a lease. I didn't have any utility bills. When I didn't have that second form, she looked at it and she went, do you have anything else? And so I reached in and I pulled out some mail from like 3 years ago. Because remember, I haven't lived here in 4 years. So I pulled out some mail and I put it down. I said, this is all I got. It says it's my address. And it was from the federal government. And she goes, well, we can't accept this. Hold on. And she disappears. She did the thing where she goes back. And while she was back, I caught her out of the periphery, right, of my eye. And by the way, I have great periphery because I took the vision test. So I caught her out of the periphery of my eye, and she's talking to her supervisor. And I recognize it's talking to someone. And now they're looking at me. So you know what I did? Oh, by the way, there's another trick, especially if it's a black woman. Blessed. Always say blessed. If it's a black woman, well, as soon as you walk up to her, say, I'm having a blessed day. How are you? Boom. That's like a code word for black ladies. Blessed. They're going to like you if you just say blessed. Anyway, so I'm looking peripherally. I see her talking to the person, and I do not have the proper documentation, dude. I don't. I'm telling you, I don't. So I'm looking at her out of the periphery, and I see her talking to her. And just as there's another black lady, just as the other black lady supervisor looks at me, my back is turned, but I'm seeing them out of the periphery. You know what I did? I did this. Boom, right there in front of everybody. Like I didn't know they were looking, like I was really just, oh, please, Jesus, please. And I did that, and these two black ladies saw that, and the black lady came back to me, and she stamped me, and she said, you're good. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Choices. I made the choice to meet Angela's anger and hatred of her job. I made the choice in that moment to try and change her mood by making her laugh, making her smile, connecting with her with, my little grandbaby. And it fucking worked, man. It worked. And you know why it doesn't work for most of us? Because usually when somebody pushes back, you get frustrated and you raise your voice and you start, even though you are absolutely powerless. When you are in the middle of some bureaucratic fucking system, you are powerless. It's like being pulled over by a cop. Yes, sir. No, sir. You are powerless in that moment. I know existentially we are granted rights and we are not powerless. In that moment, we are fucking powerless. We are at the whim of someone in authority. Making positive choices to change the mood and the energy fucking works. So I'm all legal. Why? Because Angela at the Illinois Secretary of State's office was fucking awesome. She was a human being. She stopped being a robot for a minute and she actually wanted to help somebody. Thank you. It's a lesson I learned. It's all about choices. All right, let's see here. Bill says, bring it out, my anti-Karen. Nah, she wasn't a Karen. Yeah, I mean, look, Karens you can't deal with. You can't diffuse. A real Karen you can't diffuse because she has made her own choice. And she is dialed in. And the thing about Karens are, they're stubborn, so they're not coming. So Karens are hard. Angela was not a Karen. Angela was just a bureaucrat. She's just a cog in the wheel who deals with people who yell at her every day. So when somebody didn't yell at her, so when she gave somebody bad news and that person didn't respond with, oh, this is fucking bullshit. When I didn't respond like that, when I responded instead with, oh boy, I was really hoping you can. When I responded like a human being and made an effort to connect with her on a molecular level, she wanted to help me. Because she wanted to feel good. Because I connected with her. She felt bad for me in my situation and realized that she very easily could fix the situation. And she did. And she probably went home and she felt good about it. So thank you to Angela, who crushed it. I have to say that I think that I did a lot to make the situation work the way it did. But still, Angela was a willing participant. I love it. Where is KB in here? Is Kevin Barber in here? Because Kevin Barber used to work there. Kevin Barber used. Well, I don't know. Can we talk about it? I imagine the statute of limitations is done. Kevin says, Pugs, close your eyes and listen to Pam Bondi's voice. She's a Parker Posey character. The tone and speaking patterns are so familiar. Man, don't ruin that for me. Don't ruin that for me. I love Parker Posey so much. So I had a revelation. Speaking of Parker Posey, it's why I wanted to post this. So last night, I don't know if you've noticed that but since the passing of Catherine O'Hara, the platforms are all going Catherine O'Hara crazy. All of the Chris Guest films that she did with him are all over the place. Last night, I started to watch. Because I'm doing my whole Catherine O'Hara, we've lost a treasure. Oh, we're not done yet. It's going to be like 2 weeks. Isn't it 2 weeks tomorrow? We're not done with my mourning period for the great Catherine O'Hara. So last night I started watching, and I hadn't seen this one probably in about 4 years because I watched it with my son. It was one of the films I introduced him to. But I watched Waiting for Guffman. If you remember Chris Guest, who's so brilliant with all of these mockumentaries that he does. Waiting for Guffman was his first. Waiting for Guffman is what Chris Guest did after Spinal Tap. After he was Nigel Tufnell in Spinal Tap and he saw the whole what Rob Reiner was doing with mockumentaries, Chris Guest went, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do nothing but mockumentaries. And he's perfected the format and he's the greatest director to ever do it. So Waiting for Guffman was his first, and it stars, well, a lot of people. Well, it stars the Chris Guest cast. He has a stable of actors that he uses in all of his movies. Your Fred Willards, your Eugene Levy's, your Catherine O'Hara's, your Parker Posey's. Kevin, I watched Parker Posey last night in Waiting for Guffman. This is probably what, a 22, 23-year-old Parker Posey? My God, I was instantly transported back. That woman, we lost Catherine O'Hara, but it is time that we start talking about Parker Posey as a national treasure. Because I'm watching Waiting for Guffman, where Parker Posey plays the slutty, small-town Dairy Queen girl who, for some reason, becomes an actress in this small-town production of, what is the production? Blaine, 150 Years of Blaine, Missouri, whatever it is. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for that. I just wanted to mention, man, Parker Posey having a bit of a moment because of, last season of White Lotus. If you watch White Lotus on HBO Max, Parker Posey was just... Did she win the Golden Globe and the Emmy? I mean, I don't know how she didn't. That character from the Parker Posey character from last season's White Lotus was so great. And I think that is the character that Kevin is referring to. That Pam Bondi is actually the Parker Posey character from last season's White Lotus. But getting back to Kevin, I'm glad to see that he's in the chat room here. KB Art, his first job. He was a worker. KB was a worker, man. He always had jobs that made ridiculously more than the jobs that all of his friends had. Like, we're working at McDonald's or we're working at McAdoons. We're bussing tables for minimum wage. Kevin is like parking cars at some fancy hotel and getting tipped out like $400 a night at 16. And we're like, what? Anyway. So then Kevin, KB Art in the chat room, Kevin takes a job that made all of us very happy. Kevin took a job at the Secretary of State's office. Now, we were all 17, 18, 19. Kevin, I don't know, maybe you can tell me, how old were you when you worked at the Secretary of State's office? I think we were 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there. He was, I don't know what he did there, but somehow he made himself a fake driver's license because he worked at the Secretary of State's office. And we all had these like bad fake IDs. We had these Wisconsin out-of-state ones, but I think Kevin had a real one. Anyway, he was our in at the Secretary of State back in the day. Kevin Barber, KB Art in the chat room, used to work at the Secretary of State's office. It's not there anymore. The Midlothian location. It's not there. Byron in the chat room. Byron says, article just said SNL is trying to get Parker Posey to play Bondi in the cold open. Really? Wow. KB is on to something. Confirmed by... Now we're going to have to do that. We're going to... Hold on. All right. Hold on. First, should we do it this way? Yeah, let's do it this way. Because now I'm interested. And this is how this show goes. It's basically a rant, but it's a stream of consciousness. So whatever we're interested in. All right, so let's see some Parker Posey from White Lotus. It's her accent. She was Parker Posey in White Lotus, played a woman from Victoria Ratliff. She was from North Carolina, so she had this North Carolina accent. All right, so let's see. Wow. Let's see if she sounds like Pam Bondi. Here we go. This is now look, we've got room. We've moved out Catherine O'Hara. Okay, she is no longer an active member of the National Treasure wing of American Celebrity. So we are going to move Parker Posey in. I'm calling it right now. Parker Posey. She's in her mid-50s. It's time for us to start talking about Parker Posey like the national treasure that she is. Here she is from last season's White Lotus. Kevin says that she sounds, this character, Victoria Ratliff, that she sounds like Pam Bondi. Byron is reporting that there is an article circulating right now that says that SNL wants Parker Posey to play Pam Bondi. All right, so let's see. Here is Parker Posey as Victoria Ratliff, a character people are saying is reminiscent of Pam Bondi.
Yeah. Hi.
The Ratliff family, yes?
That's us.
How was your flight?
Long layover in Doha, but it's all forgotten now.
We flew over the North Pole.
How did you find us, may I ask?
Well, Piper here is a senior, thank you, at Chapel Hill.
I was also a Tar Heel, but Timothy went to Duke. Saxon graduated Duke. Lachlan, our youngest, just got accepted to both, so you can imagine it's a whole thing. Saxon works for his father. They love it. It's Tim's dream.
It's pretty great.
How wonderful for you. How wonderful for you.
We're a normal family.
I don't know.
What's the Wi-Fi?
Oh, yeah.
We don't actually have Wi-Fi in the villas.
What?
No Wi-Fi?
Yeah, we
All right.
consider
Anyway,
the
there you go.
hotels
That's a good enough
addiction
example.
detox
I can hear it. I can hear it. Jeez. She was so funny as that character. She was just like such a horrible person who thought that she was just such a perfect person. It's just very funny. All right, Parker Posey, national treasure. Let's just absolutely lean into that one. I also like the commercial, the car commercial she's doing. What's that car commercial she's doing now where she's driving? She's like driving an SUV and she's just being all Parker Posey and awesome. Hold on, since we're doing this. Hold on. Let's see a little young. That's old Parker Posey. Let's see a little bit young Parker Posey. Let's go with Waiting for Guffman Parker Posey. Let's see. She was so good in that. That's what struck me. And I decided last night that she was going to be a national treasure. All right, here you go. Here's Parker Posey. This is how she's introduced to us from Waiting for Guffman, which is, by the way, if you haven't seen this movie, this is one of the funniest movies. Waiting for Guffman. Here we go. Parker Posey, national treasure. We just saw her as a 50-something-year-old woman. Let's look at her as a 20-something-year-old young actress.
I've been working here at the DQ for about 8 months, 7. I don't know, something like that. It's fun. Just do the cones, make sundaes, make blizzards, and put stuff on them, and see a lot of people come in. A lot of people come to the DQ. Burgers, ice cream, anything, you know. Cokes. Drive in and get a Coke. You're thirsty.
Something was wrong.
Just shut up! Just shut up! Jesus Christ! Breathe! Breathe, people! My God! I know how it feels too! Guess I could just go back to the Dairy Queen, you know.
All right. There you go. I
They
guess
said they'd take me back.
they said they'd take me back. Guess I could just go back to the Dairy Queen. She's so great. That whole movie is improv. Like, you understand that. Like, you understand that there is a premise. There is an overarching premise, but the dialogue is all just these people creating these characters and saying, this is what I think this character would say. It is brilliant. That's why Parker Posey is a treasure, because she is so great. No lines, just her off the top of her head being a character. All right, that's enough of that. What else do we have in the chat room? Let me see if I can find that article. Pam Bondi. Parker Posey. Let's see if anything comes up here. Okay, well, Reddit. There's a big whole thing on Reddit right now that says, can we please get Parker Posey to play Pam Bondi? Can we please get Parker Posey to play Pam Bondi in a cold open? That's it. That's my post. Not trying to be funny, not trying to get a laugh. I don't want anyone to have the worst day of their job, but I too don't like political cold opens, and I just thought Parker Posey would make a good Pam Bondi. I'm sorry if this upset any of you. All right, and then there's a whole bunch of Reddit people talking about it. Someone on X says that Pam Bondi sounds like a drunk Parker Posey character. Facebook has a whole thing saying, I swear Pam Bondi's voice is a dead ringer for Parker Posey. Threads, Pam Bondi has the same effect as Parker Posey. Pam Bondi sounds like Victoria Ratliff, Parker Posey. And yeah, I mean, so people are talking about it. Boom, boom. All right. So yeah, that would be great. Get that going. You know, Saturday Night Live, they do succumb to these kinds of things, these kinds of internet pressures. That would be great. All right. Let's see. Let's get into what are we doing here? Talked about the bureaucracy. I've talked about all right, let's see here. What should we get started with? Let's get started with a Nancy Guthrie update. Oh, before we do that, we of course need to do a little bit of housekeeping here. The show itself, it runs on your gratuities. You know that. Just look at that down there. The honest truth is, I'll tell you right now, on the 12th of the month, we are 12 days out of the month. We still haven't paid for December. The show needs $500 a month. That's basically what we need. $500 a month to run. And we have been behind since moving here. That put us behind about $300. And so that was a tough climb to get out of. The Mama B got us out of that one. Thank you. But here we are now. We are the 12th. And as we get things stabilized, we're still fucking behind. We're at $150 for last month. We needed $500. We're at $150. We haven't even started on this month. So if you support this kind of daily talk radio, now would be the time that I would compel you to drop a little something in the tip if you can. And if you're one of those people who can drop bombs, we need the bomb now. We need the bomb today. If you can drop a bomb, we need the bomb now. The show needs 500 for last month. We're at 150. So help us out. Now, if you are the big bomb dropper, if you are somebody who gives the show a nice little kick in the ass to keep us going for another couple of weeks, you will be the executive producer of tomorrow's show. The executive producer. That's right. All you need to do is be the big tipper. Today, we do have an executive producer because our actual executive producer dropped a bit of a bomb. Maddie is our executive producer, somebody who works their ass off. And this is kind of nice because, well, not nice, but it's nice on her end that she would think this way. But because she has become such a big part of the show, right? I mean, I rely on her. We got plans. We're working on some things. Her role off the air has become far more significant than maybe you people don't realize on the air. But Maddie's doing a lot, and the fact that she's still fucking tipping, it's like, no, here, I know, we got it. I got it. Let me help you. I'll drop this in. So thank you to Maddie. She is today's executive producer, but we need more people to drop. And this is not going to be an everyday thing, every month thing. You know, there are some months where we are more desperate than others. We're still playing catch up from the move. Last month, all the bills finally got paid on the 22nd. Okay. It was just before Christmas, wiped me out, it was just after Christmas, wiped out with all the Christmas bills and all that. But so we got the bills paid on the 22nd. Today, it's only the 12th. If we can shave a week off, that's how we get back to normal, right? So if we were 3 weeks late with our bills last month and we can be 2 weeks late with our bills this month, maybe next week we'll be 1 week late and then, eventually we'll be caught up. We'll be back, in good standing. So help out this kind of talk if you can. This kind of talk is rare. You don't get it on radio. I don't carry water for any one political party. I'm not an ideologist. Right? I'm not an ideologue. I don't look at the world in one sort of static way. New information changes my mind all the time. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I don't call myself conservative. I don't call myself liberal. I call myself a centrist progressive. Somebody who is socially fucking progressive. Do whatever you want in your bars and in your homes and in your fun little party places. I don't care. Just, be cool. That's really all I'm about. And that's what this show stands for. And that's how I do radio. There is no home for me because I refuse to, carry water for the right. And that's the only place in talk radio where you're allowed to have a show now is if you will be MAGA and you will carry water for the right. There's a few people who are sort of straying from that. I think maybe in the next couple of years, maybe we might see a slight change. There's that guy, Eric Erickson out there, who is apparently a very popular right-wing broadcaster. He is certainly broken from the water carrying lane. So we'll see. But anyway, we need your help. This kind of talk needs your help. The right has all kinds of support. The left does not. Or even the center. Because I'm not a left. You know that. I'm not left. I'm like center left. I'm like center moderate normal person. And I'm not filled with hate. So if you can drop a little something, help the show out, please do that. Thank you. All right, now let's get into some Nancy Guthrie stuff. This is of all the crazy things that are happening. And there's a lot of really big, crazy things that are happening. We've got an executive and a justice that is seemingly trying to protect pedophiles, which is troubling. We've got situations with troops in American cities. And yeah, I'm calling them troops. They're not local law enforcement. They're being helicoptered and dropped into these cities from other places and then kicking indoors and being assholes to the people who live there. That is not something that we Americans deal with very well, historically speaking. And we're not dealing with it now. By the way, Minnesota, it's been announced everybody's pulling out of Minnesota. They're leaving. ICE is leaving Minnesota. All that shit's leaving. Tom Homan took one look around and said, I can't fix this. So we're quitting. We're moving out. Vietnam exit strategy in Minnesota. For what used to be Bovino's troops, now Homan's gang. So we got that. We got Epstein. We got that. We got Iran. We totally forgot about what's going on in Venezuela. We're still like, pulling over oil tankers all over the world, just pulling them over. Beep, beep, pull it over. We're doing that still. Canada's mad at us. Or we're mad at Canada. Well, we're not mad at Canada, but the Orange Pumpkin's mad at Canada. And so apparently, that's the problem with this guy. Everybody looks at him and they're like, well, he's your spokesperson. No, he's not. Not my president. Not my president while being entirely my president, which is not good. So there's a lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk about all that. But Nancy Guthrie, this story, boy. What day are we in? It's going to be 14 on Saturday. It'll be 2 weeks on Saturday or 2 weeks on Sunday morning. Nancy Guthrie is the 84-year-old mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, who is, now, talk about just from a business standpoint. Her profile is so much higher now. She was just a random celebrity. Oh yeah, she's a celebrity too, but not like an A-lister, not somebody you think of. If somebody said to you 3 weeks ago, if somebody sat you down and said, name 100 celebrities, you wouldn't name Savannah Guthrie. You wouldn't get to her. That's my point. She's not like, but now she is. Now she is for like the worst possible reasons. And I've been wondering, I'm like, just looking at like, what is her career path now? Like, is she able to come back and be on TV? And by the way, I'm not saying that she doesn't have the professionalism or the ability to do it, because she probably certainly does. But what about her producers? Are her producers going to have her? Because producers, see, they have to consider other things like how her presence affects viewers. How long is it going to take for people to look at Savannah Guthrie on TV and not feel horrible? Because every time I see her now, my heart breaks for her. And the cold, hard truth of it is that you can't have a person like that on a TV show that you want people being happy and it's morning and let's cook and let's have fun and let's laugh and let's tease each other. Or maybe you can. But I don't know. Savannah Guthrie. I know that seems like a very odd way of looking at this, but the actual story is so upsetting that, it's almost like a nice, refreshing break to be able to talk about how does this affect Savannah Guthrie's career moving forward. But now let's get back to the real story, which is that her mom is missing. Her mom's been missing for almost 2 weeks now. We thought 2 nights ago, I thought we had a break. Remember, we busted that guy down there by the border of Mexico, and then we searched his house, and I was glued to my TV all night long. They interrupted the Olympics. Peacock. Apparently, Olympics, we'll do a medal count, and we've got a crazy Olympic story that we'll get into later today, but I am not paying attention to the Olympics. But apparently people who were upset when NBC or Peacock broke in and started doing live coverage of the Nancy Guthrie detainment, we'll call it. They detained a guy. They found a glove yesterday a mile and a half from her house. And I don't know how that pertains to anything, because I guess the guy in the video was wearing a glove and they're like, well, it could be his glove. I'm like, or it could just be a fucking glove on the side of the road. You ever seen the shit that is just on the side of the road? It could be completely not related. So, but I guess people are looking for hope wherever they can find it. And all right, we found a glove a mile and a half away, a black glove. And it looks like he's wearing a black glove on the Ring doorbell, or Nest. Sorry, the Nest doorbell. By the way, it needs to be mentioned about the Nest doorbell camera footage that we saw released the other day. Nest, I don't know who owns Nest, but fuck Nest, okay? Nest would not allow access to the camera because, you see, Nancy Guthrie didn't pay the upcharge to have Nest save and have her footage be retrievable in the cloud, because she didn't pay the extra $9. That's why you got to pay the extra $9. Like, could you see Nest salespeople sitting in people's living rooms now going, well, you know, Nancy Guthrie didn't pay the upcharge. Fuck you, Nest. Fuck you. And you know why? Fuck you, Nest? Because it turns out they do have it. Oh, they do have it. It's in the cloud. They just, because, you know, she's not paying the extra $10 a month, they won't release the footage. So here's what happened with the footage. Here's how we got the footage. Google backdoored that shit. Google did what Nest was unwilling to do. People at Google said, well, you know, we can get a backdoor if they've got a Nest and a Google account. We can absolutely backdoor into that cloud and get it. And that's how we got it. So thank you to Google, and fuck you, Nest. I don't know if Ring would have done it any differently, but should I ever be in a position where my choices are Nest or Ring, I will now be going Ring. I don't even know. Ring might be bad too. But in this particular instance, we know that Nest was like, well, she didn't have the gold package. So, you know, that doesn't protect against kidnapping. So, all right, whatever, Nest. That's American capitalism for you. Everything's got to have an upcharge. Your safety will protect you for an upcharge. Because America, we're not going to protect you because we're moral and we're human and we're decent and we believe in Jesus and what would Jesus do and all that. Nah, you got to pay the upcharge. So the glove found a mile and a half away from the house yesterday. They're hoping it has something to do with something. The suspect, little Mexican guy, he's a door dasher in the neighborhood where Nancy Guthrie lived, and I guess this is how they got onto him. He was door dashing, and I've delivered food in my life. That would suck, because you're in the same neighborhood. If you work in neighborhood, you're all over that neighborhood. So I imagine that this guy's little Mexican guy they busted. I imagine that they saw his car all over the neighborhood and then decided, well, let's check in on this guy. Let's start a surveillance operation on this guy. And they did. And they ended up pulling him over and taking him in, and they kicked in the door of his house, and they threw his mother out in the street, or his mother-in-law. And apparently they did damage to the house. And then like a couple hours later, they let him go because he had absolutely nothing to fucking do with it. He's just a little Mexican guy doing DoorDash. Here he is. This is the suspect. They interviewed him afterwards. He had some things to say. Let's check this guy out. Here we go. Yep, here he is. All right, this is the guy. Here we go.
Are you shocked?
Oh, yeah, I was.
Tell me.
Come on, what do you expect me to do? ¿Cómo quieres que reaccione cuando algo pasa así? Pero yo no sé qué está pasando. Me agarraron como si fuera un criminal, me secuestraron. They held me against my will. They didn't give me my rights until 2 hours later. Okay? You know, my wrist is all fucking swollen.
From
the handcuffs. Like,
and did you have any idea
No.
that this was about
No.
him? And do you know who Nancy Guthrie
No.
is?
Hey, can I just say something as a white guy? Because I feel bad for this dude. This dude got. Let me say something as a middle-aged white guy. If I were to do, how do I say this? Because it's not coming from a place of racism. All right, here's the thing. Mexican dudes do talk a certain way. they talk like this. Why is it that they talk like this? It's all like this. And it's not like a language thing. It's like a rhythm or a cadence thing. And this guy is doing it. It's I don't like, what is it? That's like gay dudes who all talk like this. This is like what is that? What is that? Is it a result of Spanglish that you kind of but I'll also say this: Irish people are very, very Irish people are so I guess I don't know. I never noticed it. I mean, I guess I always noticed it. I guess I just never mentioned it. We're mentioning it now. But this guy talks like the way, I would get in trouble for talking like this.
That's the problem. No, I don't know anything.
You were like, where is this coming from?
How did they come up on you?
I don't know.
Like, what, were you just driving around?
Yeah, working.
Yeah, they said you were delivering DoorDash?
Yeah, this.
Oh,
By the way, I do want to point out that, there is an echo on this. If you're in the chat, remember we had a problem with the echo. There is an echo on this. Without me doing anything wrong.
How'd they pull up on you? Like,
Nah, I pulled up with them. They were following me. Yeah, they were following me. Marana. This is Santa Cruz County, and Marana was down here. It's like, come on, 2 and 2.
All right, so basically they were just following him, and at some point he was like, "What the fuck? What are you guys doing?" That's interesting.
and so then when they came up on you, what did they say? Like, what did they say?
Nothing. Literally nothing. They just told me, stop moving. Like, what's your name? Carlos. And that's it. They put me in the cop car. You gotta wait like 2 hours. I waited like 2 hours until the detectives came here and everything.
When they finally told you this had to do with some kidnapping, like what were you thinking?
What the fuck am I doing here? I didn't do anything. To be honest, like, I'm innocent.
and you don't even know who the lady is? Do you know who Savannah
No,
Guthrie is?
no. I don't follow the news.
Right.
I don't watch.
You don't watch the Today Show?
No.
So this was a complete shock.
It was.
What kind of questions were they asking you?
Nothing. They didn't ask me any questions.
So they just said,
nothing. They
so they
just sent me
took
in the car. They investigated my car and this van, and that's it. They didn't ask me no questions, no nothing.
Did you get the other car back? Or they still have it?
No, it's right there.
Oh, they gave it back to you. So,
Yeah, it's like.
and they said you can go home?
Yeah.
And how did they treat like the people you were with, your girl, your child?
I don't see
Yeah,
about
no,
that. You know what I mean?
How's your family? They
Oh, they're
scared
all in
everybody. I was going to say, they scared everybody, huh?
Yeah, they're all in shock right now.
Wow.
Did they damage the house? Yeah.
What did he do to the
They
house?
broke the doors. What else there? The garage door in the back. Mm.
So what are you going to do now?
I don't try to keep my name. I didn't do anything.
This poor dude.
I mean, I hope they get the suspect. 'Cause I'm not it. They better do their job and find the suspect that did it so they can clear my name. And I'm done. Look at what I'm putting my family through.
You're on
Not just
national
them.
news now.
Not just them. You're my person.
Just see that? This dude is gun shy. This dude, they moved the microphone, and he kind of flinched. Watch this. This is weird.
I mean, I hope they get the suspect. 'Cause I'm not it.
Here it comes.
They better do their job and find the suspect that did it so they can clear my name.
Look at him flinch.
And I'm done. Look at what I'm putting my family through.
You're on
Not just
Here it
them.
comes.
news now.
Not just them. You're my character too, son. Yeah.
All right, well, the poor guy, he didn't do anything. He's just out there grinding, man. He's just out there. He's doing Grubhub delivery. By the way, have you guys ever noticed this? Because apparently he was Grubhubbing with his family in the car. That's what he was talking about. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever I used to see that all the time. Man, I'm telling you. You remember I used to live in Highland Park. Highland Park, one of the wealthiest zip codes in America. I was flopping there. I couldn't afford to live there, but I was living there. I was flopping there. Flopped there for a number of years. And I got to sort of embed myself with the 1% crowd and see how they are. So I would go for walks around the neighborhood, and you would see door dashers. That's what rich people do, nothing but DoorDash. It's constant, man. I'm telling you, man, wealthy people neighborhoods, the only traffic in the street is UPS and Amazon trucks and fucking food being delivered. Rich people get shit brought to them constantly, all the time. Anyway, one of the things that I've noticed, and I always think this is sad. I'm always like, you see this a lot. Door dashers with their kids in the car. Door dashers with like a wife, maybe a baby in the back seat, and they're just driving around, running up to people who make like, 50 grand a week, running up to these people's houses, dropping foot. I mean, it's just every time I see that, I always get like, oh man. I mean, it's not pity. I don't feel pity. I feel like, oh man, we have a society where fucking people need to grind with 2 and 3 extra jobs, and they need to bring their kids in the car to drop off a $40 hamburger for some rich guy. Oh my God. Anyway, that's what this dude was doing. He's just out there. He's driving around, apparently door dashing. He works for, people are saying, well, it's not just DoorDash. No, he's one of these dudes that's got all the apps. So he's working for DoorDash. He's doing Uber. He's doing it all at the same time. I don't know if you can do it all at the same time. I imagine you could, though. Who would stop you? All right. So there's that guy. He didn't do nothing, but we all thought we had the suspect. And here's why. That arrest came down roughly an hour. The arrest, I'm sorry. He was detained. That gentleman who we just heard from was detained. The detainment of that gentleman came down an hour after breaking news reported that there had been some activity in the Bitcoin account. Remember, there was a Bitcoin address. They wanted $6 million in Bitcoin. And Harvey Levin of TMZ was one of the people who received the initial note. So he had the Bitcoin address on there. So TMZ is able to monitor that account, that Bitcoin account. And they had been reporting that there was no movement. But then on Monday night, or was it Tuesday night? I think it was Monday night. It wasn't last night. What was last night? Last night was Wednesday. Oh my God. Oh my God. Because I took a day off this week, I'm screwed. I don't know what day it is. Is it Thursday? Doesn't matter. Here's the point. What is the point? Totally lost where I was. I was just riffing on Nancy Guthrie, and then I got distracted. All right, so the Bitcoin, yeah, that's what it was. It was the Bitcoin. So how Harvey Levin was monitoring the Bitcoin, and roundabout, an hour before this guy was taken into custody, he broke in on all the networks reporting that there had been activity in the Bitcoin. Now, we're all like, oh, my God, because Savannah said she'd pay. Remember, in the video we saw last Saturday, she said, I will pay. And then there'd been nothing. And the deadline was Monday at 5 o'clock, and that passed. We hadn't heard anything. And Harvey's like, no activity in the Bitcoin account. And then all of a sudden, there's activity in the Bitcoin account. And then an hour later, this guy is arrested. So for those of us who are like watching this, we thought, oh, that's it. They knew the person who was going to try and convert that Bitcoin account into cash. So they were just watching and waiting for movement to happen with the Bitcoin account. And then they swooped in, or at least that's what we thought. And that wasn't the case at all. The money that was put into the Bitcoin account was apparently $300. And now it turns out that came from the FBI, that the FBI was actually just testing the Bitcoin account. That wasn't the 6 million in Bitcoin that was requested. They also got another note, the FBI, and I don't know how seriously they're treating this one, but somebody said that for one Bitcoin, apparently one Bitcoin is currently worth about 60 grand. For one Bitcoin, he would reveal the name of the person who kidnapped Nancy Guthrie. Now, I don't know where they're at with that, but there's Bitcoin everywhere in this story. So after the Bitcoin had movement, and Harvey Levin went on Fox News and CNN and MS Now and all those networks, and he said that there's been movement, we were all like, okay, here we go. Something's happening tonight. And then an hour later, they bust this guy, and we all thought it was over, but it wasn't. They got nothing. 24 hours later, they're like, we found a glove 1.5 miles from the house. And we're like, okay. How many big gulp cups did you find on the side of the road before you got to that? You don't want to grab every big gulp or Gatorade bottle that you find on the side of the road and swab that for DNA? They got nothing, you guys. They got absolutely nothing. At least that's the way it looks. And maybe they're just good at their job, and that's how it looks before they make an arrest. Well, let me see what the absolute latest is here, because as I sit here, what is the latest? Find out what the absolute latest is here. 32 minutes ago, 10 hours ago, 42 minutes ago. Let's go with the 32 minutes ago. All right, 32 minutes ago, the latest update. It says here, Nancy Guthrie live updates. Authorities are sorting through thousands of tips as investigators are now searching the desert. They got nothing, man. And I am telling you, the most important message that we have seen from Savannah Guthrie was the one on Saturday of last week, where her sister, and her brother were directly addressing the kidnappers. Where she said she'll pay, where she used a lot of very curious language that led me and many other people to think that Savannah Guthrie has been told by the kidnappers that mom is no longer with us. Just the way she said that thing on Saturday. Now, since then, Savannah Guthrie has publicly stated that she does believe her mother is still alive. But she's saying that publicly, that's PR. When she releases her own thing, to the public about what's going on, that's PR. She's controlling it. And I don't mean to say that negatively, like, oh, she's a PR whore. No, I'm just saying that in these situations, she's trying to control the public narrative because her mother's life is potentially hanging in the thread. So when she addresses, or today she put an Instagram up that was all just a montage of like films of her growing up with her mother and her brothers and sisters. And it's beautiful, but that's PR. What happened on Saturday, that was not PR. That was a part of the process, and they were directly addressing the kidnappers. So I think the Saturday one is the one that we really need to pay the most attention to. And based on what was said on Saturday, we'll pay. The deadline was Monday. The deadline went by. The money was not put in the Bitcoin. It's now Thursday, and we're still looking for it. They got nothing. They got nothing. People out there, how would you like to be Savannah Guthrie's sister? Like poor Savannah Guthrie's sister, Annie, right now. Her husband, Tomaso. If you go online, everybody thinks Tomaso is the guy that did. How would you how horrible is that? We don't know dick about dick regarding that. But we're all just really comfortable just fucking with the family in their most darkest moments. We're all just speculating that it's Tomaso because he's a guy that plays in a band with a weird guy. I don't know. We got nothing. They got nothing. Nobody knows nothing about nothing. I'm telling you, I believe that she is gone. As terrible it is to say that, I believe she is gone. I believe the Guthrie family right now are just desperately trying to get the body back, right? Closure. It's the only way that we'll have peace. Give us our mother back so that we can celebrate with her. These were all the weird words that she used in that message on Saturday. I believe that mom is gone, and I believe the kids know that mom is gone, and I believe now the most important thing is that they get the body back. I mean, just from watching it, here's what I think happened. I think they kidnapped her. I think that within the first 48 hours or 72 hours or something, I think that mom passed away. She was an 84-year-old woman who needed medical. She needed medicine, and she doesn't have any of that stuff. Her pacemaker was detached from the app. I mean, if you were trying to keep, doesn't it seem like that would be a thing you'd want to keep if you had kidnapped an old woman with a pacemaker and you didn't want her to die because her being alive is how you're going to get your money? You would think you would want to keep the pacemaker monitor, but whatever. Anyway, that was detached. And I think she died. I think the kidnappers then panicked or, certainly didn't intend for her to die in that way. So they then had to reach out to the Guthrie family and say, look, she's gone. And that I think that is why Savannah began the Saturday message with, we understand. We got your message and we understand. That could be read into any number of ways. They understand the parameters of what the kidnappers are asking for. You understand. Or was there another message that the kidnappers gave to her or gave to them that they understand? And that's what I think it is. I think she understands. I think the kidnapper said, look, your mother's dead. We still have her body. Because the response was, we understand. We want you to return our mother so that we can celebrate with her. I beg you to return our mother so that we can celebrate with her. It's the only way that we will have peace. That sounds to me like they are talking about somebody who is dead and they just want the body back. But on the kidnapper side, the kidnappers are now like, we've got a dead woman. This is now murder, no questions asked. It ain't just kidnapping. This is murder. We just murdered somebody, very high profile. The kidnappers might be like, fuck it, we're out. Gone. They don't want the money. They don't want the Bitcoin. Now it's murder, and it's a celebrity mom that they murdered, and they are out in the wind, gone. And that's why I believe on Saturday, Savannah Guthrie said, we will pay. Did she say we will pay? She said we will pay. She didn't say we will still pay, right? She said we will pay. Okay, so she said we will pay. I think that was peace, celebrate, send us our mother, celebrate. I beg, it's the only way that we'll have peace. We will pay. I believe that was the message that she was giving to the kidnappers, that, look, we know she's dead. We will still give you the money. Just return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. It's the only way that we'll have peace. Guys, that sounds to me clear cut. So that's what I think is going on. And I think right now that's what this is. This is about finding the body, ending this, closure for this story. And as dark as that is, I'm sorry to put it out there, but that's truly how I feel. Anyway, hopefully, I mean, look, we can be hopeful and we can be optimistic, right? And we can hope for the best. And my God, wouldn't that be a great story? I was thinking about that. We obviously are existing currently in America in 2026 in the darkest timeline. This is the darkest timeline. We've got soldiers in the streets killing citizens or objecting to the way that laws are being applied in their communities. We're saber rattling with everybody from Iran to Canada. We've got a president who is obviously a corrupt criminal who is protecting a bunch of pedophile friends. We are, folks, in the darkest timeline. So understanding that we're in the darkest timeline, it can be expected that they're just going to find Nancy Guthrie's body, that this could not possibly have a happy ending. Or could it? What would that mean? Seriously, how much do we as a country desperately need a happy ending in one story? Because this is a unifying story. It's strange. It's been going on now for 14 or almost 14 days. It's been going on for almost 2 weeks. And I have not seen one bit of this story become politicized. Now, early on, there were a lot of absolutely horrible MAGA people who were like, well, she's a member of the liberal media. You know, it was that bullshit. But that went away. I think that when you look at most of the threads and you read the comments from people about this situation, it's a unifying story. It's a unifying story because, well, 2 reasons. One, we all know Savannah Guthrie, or, you know, many people do. She's a celebrity. So we have that. That's a common denominator. Oh, this is somebody that we know. What's going on with this person that we know? Well, it concerns her mother. And we're very protective of our mothers. You know, that's the thing that connects to all of us. We're all like, holy shit. How many people called their moms, right? Like over the last couple of weeks, how many people who live 1,000 miles away from their moms just called their mom just to say hi to their mom? But we live in the darkest timeline. So I do not expect anything other than the absolute worst ending to this thing possible. But it doesn't mean that we have to absolutely abandon all hope that there is good out there. Wouldn't that be a great thing? I just think, the happy ending to this would just be something I think we desperately need, but I don't have a whole lot of faith that we're actually going to get it. Here's this poor guy. Speaking of this guy, they'll be pulling this guy over and arresting him. This was a dude at Nancy Guthrie's house. It's turned into quite the media station. There's like hundreds and hundreds of people over there. This poor guy, check this guy out yesterday. Speaking of like food deliveries. All right, here you go. This guy caused the buzz. He walked right up. He's just out there delivering food. There's hundreds of people out front. He pulls up his car and he walks straight up to the house. You know, there's yellow tape and everything. He rings the doorbell. Let's watch this guy. Pizza delivery guy lost trying to deliver a pizza. Look at him. This fucking guy. I've done this job. Let me tell you, this guy is like, what the fuck, man? This guy, oh my God, there's 300. Hey, anybody order a pizza? Right? I mean, at some point, that's what he's got to say.
Nancy Guthrie's home that may have been lost, corrupted, or inaccessible due to a variety of.
He's a pro. This dude is a pro. The way he's carrying the pizza is the absolute pro way to carry a pizza. Those bags are designed so that the weight of the pizza is centralized in the bag when you carry it this way. He's going to deliver you a pizza that hasn't slid. You know, that's the thing. As an old pizza delivery guy, I always comment on that in movies. In movies or TV shows, whenever anybody hands somebody a box of pizza, there's never actually pizza in it. So oftentimes they hand it to them like, here you go, here's your pizza. And I'm like, there's no pizza in there. You can tell by the way they handed him that pizza. Anyway, this guy's a pro. He's carrying the pizza. It's going to be warm because it's in the warmer bag and he's carrying it properly.
Of these recording devices. The video was
Look at this guy. He's like, any of you guys order pizza? And why is this guy? He's just doing a side hustle, man. Look at this guy. He's a middle-aged man. The country failed him. He's now at this age. He's got to do a fucking side hustle where he's delivering food. And now he walks into this scene and some asshole in a red hoodie is filming him. I'd be like, what are you doing, man? Sticking your camera in my face? Anyway, there you have it. That's the excitement going on out there at the Nancy Guthrie house. All right, let's see here. What else do we want to get into? Let's do some Epstein. Who's in the barrel today? That's right, every day as the Epstein files have been released now, 3 weeks. Millions. We're all just combing through them. Every day, a new person pops up and they're in the barrel. All right, so who's in the Epstein barrel today? Well, none other than I've seen this promoted. New York Giants co-owner. This is not what this guy is known for. This is the Maras are the people who we know as the owners of the New York Giants. This guy is just Steve motherfucking Tisch. Steve Tisch, who is one of the most powerful people, one of the most connected people in both New York and in Hollywood. Super billionaire Steve Tisch, the Tisch School at Columbia University. Well, Steve Tisch, climb on in the barrel because we found some emails between you and Jeffrey Epstein. That's right. And they ain't good ones. They ain't emails about business. No, they're emails about ladies. That's right. New York Giants owner, it says here. He's not. He's a minor owner. He's not a minor owner. I think but he's not the majority owner. He's not the Maras. New York Giants owner's relationship with Epstein was singularly focused on the ladies. That's right. A Thursday report from The Athletic details how Jeffrey Epstein's relationship with the owner of the New York Giants was solely about connecting the owner with women in Epstein's orbit. Let's get a look at him. Here, I'll give you a look at Steve Tisch just so we know who we're talking about. This is what we want, guys. We want the names. We want the humiliation for all of these people who have been operating above the law because they have money, because their grandfather invented a widget 100 years ago. They now have generational wealth and they're running around acting like the rules don't apply to them, stealing money wherever they can because now they got their bandit in chief in the White House. So yeah, we need to look at these people. Here is Steve Tisch. Let's find out exactly let's find out exactly what it is that was recovered from the Epstein tranche that revealed his name. The latest dump of Epstein files, comprised of more than 3 million pages, include extensive email exchanges between the deceased sex trafficker and Steve Tisch, a Hollywood producer and co-owner of the Giants. According to a deep dive published by The Athletic, the two men spoke exclusively about women. Yeah, this fucker, Steve Tisch. Steve Tisch is not allowed to be one of these guys that says, well, we just met. It was about business. No, because you seem to have only talked to Epstein about ladies. Okay, here we go. According to a deep dive published by The Athletic, the two men spoke exclusively about women. More specifically, Epstein plucked women from his orbit and then delivered them to Tisch. The Giants' co-owner was first introduced to Epstein through New York-based hedge fund manager Todd Meister. They met in 2013, 5 years after Epstein was convicted for soliciting a minor for prostitution. All right, now that is an important detail. 2013 is when Steve Tisch started emailing with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Jeffrey Epstein had been in a lot of people's orbit for a lot of years, but most of the people with names the size of Steve Tisch have been on record as saying that they broke off all association with Epstein after the Florida underage girl situation. That was in 2008, 2009, right? Well, that didn't stop Steve Tisch. Do you think Steve Tisch didn't know that this guy that he was getting women's from? What women's? That this guy that he was getting ladies from? Steve Tisch we're talking about. You think Steve Tisch didn't know that like 6 years earlier, Jeffrey Epstein wore an ankle bracelet and wasn't allowed to leave his house because he was fucking around with underage girls? Of course, Steve Tisch knew who he was dealing with. And not only that, but Steve Tisch knew that this guy had a specific expertise with acquiring just the most incredible ladies. Steve Tisch is a bad guy, and his name is now out there. According to a deep dive published by The Athletic, the two men spoke exclusively about women. More specifically, Epstein plucked women from his orbit and delivered them to Tisch. The Giants' co-owner was first introduced to Epstein through New York-based hedge fund manager Todd Meister. They met in 2013, 5 years after Epstein was convicted for soliciting a minor for prostitution and had to register as a sex offender. According to an email sent to Epstein, Tisch was apparently, quote, blown away by you in a positive way. All right. So this guy, this hedge fund guy, Meister, right? He's the guy that introduced Epstein. He's the guy that got Epstein and Steve Tisch together. And when he got them together, he then contacted Epstein, Meister, and said, hey, I just talked to Steve. He was really blown away. According to by meeting you, because Epstein, look, Epstein managed rich guys' money. And I'm sure that Epstein wanted to get some of that Steve Tisch money. So that's why it was important to Epstein that Steve Tisch like him, right? According to an email sent from Meister to Epstein, Tisch was, quote, blown away by you in a positive way. And he thinks you, and this is Meister talking to Jeffrey Epstein about what Steve Tisch thinks of Jeffrey Epstein. Meister says he thinks you are wonderful and interesting. 2013, 5 years after we all knew that he was a child molester, Steve Tisch, Mr. fucking above it all. Steve Tisch is one of the Hollywood guys who's above it all. He's not as well known because he's in charge of the people who are far more well known. Steve Tisch, above it all, thought that Jeffrey Epstein, years after Jeffrey Epstein was already a well-known and documented child molester, Steve Tisch called Jeffrey Epstein wonderful and interesting. From there, Epstein and Tisch began discussing women directly. So now Epstein and Tisch, they're like buddies. They're emailing about chicks. From there, Epstein and Tisch began discussing women, with Epstein offering him. Epstein was a pimp. Are we starting to see this? You know, people refer to him as a pimp, and I think a lot of people hear it and go, well, they're just calling him that, but he's not really. No, Epstein was legitimately a pimp. Epstein pimped out women to rich friends. Now, maybe it's not directly like pimping and hoeing where there is money exchanged in the moment, but Epstein's deal was he wanted to manage these people's portfolios. So he wasn't going to take, $1,000 for a 14-year-old Ukrainian girl. No, he was just going to send a 14-year-old Ukrainian girl over to one of these people that he wants to do larger business with. That's how this was going. Epstein and Tisch began discussing women, with Epstein offering Tisch, quote, an aspiring actress with a 10 ass. So here you have Steve Tisch, a big Hollywood producer, and Epstein's like, hey, I got a girl I want to send over to you. She's an aspiring actress with a 10 ass. He also offered Tisch a microbiology major at a university and an exotic Tahitian girl who Epstein reassured Tisch was not a prostitute. All right, so that tells me that I'm thinking the exotic Tahitian girl is underage. She's not a prostitute. She's far too young to have been a prostitute already. I have questions about the Tahitian girl and the email that Tisch and that Jeffrey Epstein exchange concerning the exotic Tahitian girl who Epstein reassured Tisch was not a prostitute. In at least 2 instances, Steve Tisch made unwanted advances on women who were solely looking for help in their respective careers. The report continues. Tisch asked a woman, this is a woman who was interviewed by investigators for this. Here's what she said about Steve Tisch. We're learning about this now because of the Epstein files. We didn't know this before. I don't think Steve Tisch a couple of days ago would have walked into a restaurant and people would have gone, hey, you've got this history with Epstein. No. So we know. So now we know. And you're looking at him right now. So now we know this guy, Steve Tisch, I don't give a fuck how many hundreds of billions of dollars he has. He's not allowed to walk into restaurants anymore without somebody calling him a pedophile, okay? Deal? We can do this? Deal? Let's do it. Steve Tisch asked the woman, here, this is from the woman's testimony. Steve Tisch asked what I hope to make of my life, the woman said. I told him about my plans. I could see he was watching me talk, but he wasn't truly listening. We sat down on a leather couch. A screen came down, and he showed me a bike race. I didn't really understand what I had to do with that story. Then he starts to put his hands on the inside of my thigh. I threw out my hand, and I said, no. He said to me, you're a very smart girl. I then ran. I rushed into the elevator. He's got an elevator in his living room. I rushed into the elevator. I don't even know how I got myself home. The next day, I received a call from Epstein. Here's what Epstein said. So remember, Epstein sends her over to Tisch. Tisch makes his move. She runs out. The next day, Epstein's calling her. Because remember, Epstein's like, hey, Tisch, I'm going to get you laid. So now Epstein is calling her. The next day, the woman said Epstein called her. He told me that I was an idiot and that I was never going to make anything in my life. Well, Tisch didn't rape her. She said no. He made his move. In another email exchange, a woman Epstein connected with Tisch. So this is another woman. In another exchange, a woman Epstein connected with Tisch told Epstein that she planned on auditioning for movies that Tisch was producing. Somewhere along the way, however, things took a strange turn. This comes from The Athletic reporting. Something seemed to go awry. The woman, we're talking about the woman, remember? She hooked up. This is another woman that Epstein hooked up with Tisch. Apparently that went better than the first one. Remember, Epstein called that girl an idiot. This is another one. This woman met with Tisch and then reported to Epstein that she was going to be starring in a number of Tisch movies. But then she says, something seemed to go awry. The woman emailed Epstein that Steve has been so weird lately. He wanted their relationship to be more than just friends, she wrote. She expressed that she did not feel the same way about him. She said, I won't forgive myself. He'll just suck my youth without helping me, she wrote. So what I think is happening here, this woman was sent to Steve Tisch by Epstein. And Tisch made his move, and she banged him. She's just like, okay, just a one-off. All right, so he's super powerful. Look, I don't have a problem with a woman who makes that decision in the moment. You're sitting there with a guy who can take you from off Broadway to starring in the next summer tent ball. I think that maybe you blow him. I don't know. That's just me. I think maybe you blow him to get the opportunity, but I recognize that that's, I'm a man, so maybe a little different in the way I look at it, but okay. So Epstein sends this actress over. She hooks up with Tisch on the first time. Tisch offers her all these movies, and then apparently nothing happens with the movies, and she calls Epstein, and she says, Tisch is being weird. He wants this to be more. Like, Tisch, fell in love with her or something. Like, I just want you to be my girlfriend. And she's like, hey, you're 80, and I'm 20, and I'm an actress. I fucking blew you, dude. What, you want more? But something seemed to go awry. The woman emailed Epstein that Steve has been so weird lately that he wanted their relationship to be way more than just friends, she wrote. She expressed that she did not feel the same way about him. She then said, I won't forgive myself. He'll just suck my youth without helping me, she wrote. Smart girl. In a statement released shortly after, it was revealed that Tisch was in the Epstein files. Steve Tisch described his relationship with Epstein as a brief association where we exchanged emails about adult women, but claimed he did not take him up on any of his invitations and he never went to the island. He goes on to say, Steve Tisch, as we all know now, he was a terrible person and someone I deeply regret associating with. Steve Tisch doesn't get to say, as we all know now, because Steve Tisch became friends with Jeffrey Epstein after we all already knew he was a convicted child molester in 2013, and Steve Tisch was still fucking hanging women. Steve Tisch was not only involved in business, like you could forgive that. You're like, okay, so he did business with a child molester. Business is business. It doesn't mean anything else. No! Steve Tisch wasn't doing business. Steve Tisch was using the child molester to get him women delivered. What the fuck? And now Steve Tisch, that he's been outed in 2026, is like, well, now we all know that Jeffrey Epstein's a monster. No, motherfucker, we knew he was a monster then, and you should have too. Just look at all of your other super 1% buddies who are leaning hard on the fact that in 2008, after it was revealed what Jeffrey Epstein was, they all distanced themselves from him. Not you, Steve Tisch. 2013, you're like, hey, I got a friend who can get us some really hot chick. You're screwed, Steve Tisch. What happened to that stupid thing? What happened? Oh, how long is that? There he is. There, you're screwed, Steve Tisch. Look at that. Trying to save his face. The little pop-up was obscuring Steve Tisch's face for God knows how long. All right, guys, we got to do, I'm going to take a quick break here. I got to go to the bathroom. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the trans shooter up there in Canada. We're going to get into that. There's a whole bunch of internet nonsense happening concerning the trans shooter. Yeah, we legitimately a trans shooter up in Canada. We're going to talk about that situation, and we're going to talk mostly, look, it's a terrible situation. Mental health is very important. People are wigging out all over the place. But what I want to talk about is the internet's reaction to it. And we're gonna play a little mass shooter bingo, okay? I have done the legwork on this, guys. When we come back, I have compiled since 2016, 10 years. I went back 10 years, right? 2016. That also just happens to coincide with the reign of fucking MAGA. But I went back 10 years. I thought, let's go in the last 10 years. And I looked at all of the mass shootings in this country. Criteria was it had to have occurred after 2016. And there has to be at least 10 people dead, because there's a whole bunch of mass shootings where 7, 8, 9, 10 is the number, right? 60 is the high. The high number is 60. That's the Las Vegas Speedway shooting. That is the largest mass shooting in American history. But I did that. I took 10 years, all the mass shootings that happened with over 10 people dead. And by the way, it also had to occur in a public place. I wasn't looking at backyard barbecues in the ghetto, right? Like 15 people got shot. Okay, but that's just typical gang stuff. No, these are all Walmarts. These are movie theaters. These are whatever. So let's play a little bingo. We'll go through them. We'll give you the top, I don't know if I have 10 or whatever, but it's the biggest ones, all with body counts over 10, right? Yeah, the trans shooter that happened yesterday, that's 8. That's 8, so that wouldn't make this one. But we'll go through it and we'll play a little bingo. We'll figure out what these people, you'd be surprised. I know that a lot of you are like, oh, Pugs is just going to run down a list of white guys. No, you'd be surprised how diverse the mass shooters have been in this country. So we'll do that. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get into that. We're also going to get into, more sadness. We'll talk about the death trilogy. James Vanderbeek passed away. We'll have to get into that. And somebody else also passed away. So we'll figure all of that out. Ro Khanna, the other day, I wanted to talk about this. Ro Khanna, congressman from California, did what I said Thomas Massie had been threatening to do, although to a lesser degree. Massie is still gearing up for a big dump there on the floor of Congress. Thomas Massie had promised that if the victims were to give him the names and give him permission to say the names of the men who are being protected, that Thomas Massie will do that on the floor of Congress. He can do it on the floor of Congress because if he does it there, he is indemnified from any kind of slander or, lawsuits for saying this about people. So he's been saying he's going to do that. Well, Ro Khanna kind of cut in front of him and he dropped a bunch of names. So we'll go over these names. And we're also going to talk about somebody that I have never heard of before. And this person is out there. We all know Ghislaine Maxwell, but would you be shocked to learn that Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't Jeffrey Epstein's number one side girl? The number one, his right arm, is somebody named Leslie Groff. And we're going to look into Leslie Groff. And why don't we know her name? Why is she completely just out there in the wind doing business like a normal person? So we'll get into all of that. We'll do more of that. Ro Khanna gave names. We'll talk about who Leslie Goff is. We also got a really gross story out of Prosper, Texas that didn't get any attention, I think, back when it happened, but it's starting to get national attention now. A dad killed his daughter over Trump. We've got some details here. We'll talk about the details. This is just, we've gone too far. We've gone to, not only that, the details of this. They didn't indict him. They didn't indict him in Texas for this. We'll talk about this story. The reason it's a story again is because England is doing an inquiry. Why is England doing an inquiry? Because the daughter who was killed by the MAGA Texas dad in Prosper, the daughter was actually a citizen of England who was visiting her father. And so when a citizen dies in a foreign country, the government of England does what they call an inquiry to make sure that that country is actually providing justice. Because, England, the United Kingdom, is one of the modern, justice-based kind of countries out there, at least we're led to believe. So that's what the inquiries are about. So England is now looking at what a North Texas grand jury did and is going, what the fuck, America? What the fuck? So we'll talk about that story. We'll do medal count. We'll do some Olympic stuff. All right, so we got a bunch more to do, okay? So just give me a quick break. Let me run to the bathroom. Once again, our executive producer of today's show is our actual executive producer. It's the great Maddie. She dropped a little something. She's going to help us get to our goal of reaching our monetary amount that we must reach every month. $500 is all we need to make every month, and this show struggles to do it every single month. It's more difficult this month, so help us out if you can. Drop a little something in the Venmo or the Cash App. That would be great. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to get some coffee. I'm drinking coffee again, which is good because I went through a really bad cold for a couple of weeks, and I was drinking tea, but back on coffee, so that's good. Everything's back to normal. All right, quick break. I'll come back, and we'll get into all the stuff I just told you about and more. All right, here we go. Got my fresh cup of coffee. All right. Welcome back. Part two of the rant. I don't know if it's part two. By the way, guys, I appreciate you allowing me to take these little breaks. They allow for a better show. Trust me. I know that for the first 4 years that we did this every day at noon, the whole point was that it was a straight 2-hour rant with absolutely no breaks, but that did not lead to the best shows. There are moments here after I blow my wad on a story where a commercial break or maybe playing a song or something might come in real handy just to kind of reset the mood. So I've decided as we move back to Chicago that I am going to be taking breaks, and you've allowed me to do this, and I appreciate it. They're not too long. I think they're reasonable commercial break length, 3-4 minutes. But I do think that overall it adds to a better show performed out of me, just because it gives me a second to like kind of go to the bathroom, get a refresher on my drink, clear my head, sit down in the other room, watch a TV for a second, see what's happening, just kind of clear my head. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I know it's a little bit different the way that we've been doing the show here now for the last couple of months where I'm taking these breaks, but they're needed. And I think that they're effective. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? We did the Nancy Guthrie. We did the, do I want to do this one? All right, why not? All right. What did we just come out of? We just came out of, did I tease something specifically? God, I did a lot of work on this. Yeah. All right. We'll do this one. Why not? Let's get into it. All right. So let's talk about the shooting up there in Canada. Canada. They're just like us, just with funny accents, and a love of hockey that we will never truly understand here in the lower 48. Now, there was a shooting in BC. What's the to continue? Read. Oh, God. Everything's got a paywall. Everything's got a paywall. All right, let's go. To continue. All right. Oh, for fudge's sake. All right, guys, hold on a second. Fuck. Story wasn't behind a paywall when I posted it. All right. All right, here we go. All right, Timber Ridge, that's where it is. Timber Ridge School, Canada mass shooting at a school and at a home. Let's see here. What is the latest? I'm just going to give you the overview on this. Because, again, it happened in Canada, which isn't America. But, when it's convenient, we just pretend Canada is just like us. So that's kind of being used in an argument that a lot of people are making about what happened there. Here's what we do know. It's Canada's deadliest school shooting ever. A shooter killed at least 8 people and wounded dozens more at a high school in the tiny Canadian mountain town of Timber Ridge on Tuesday. The suspect has been identified, 18-year-old. This is where the problem occurs. The suspect is being identified everywhere, and not as much now, but in the initial 12 hours, in what would have in previous times been considered the initial news cycle, this shooter was described as an 18-year-old woman in a dress, which was weird. Why did you have to add the in a dress, right? That immediately put my antenna up. Just say an 18-year-old woman, but you said an 18-year-old woman in a dress. You wouldn't write it was an 18-year-old guy in blue jeans, right? You wouldn't write that. It was a weird way that it was being reported that made me immediately go, oh, it's a trans person. That's what it is. That's why they said in a dress, an 18-year-old woman in a dress. They're trying to let us know that this ain't what we're thinking. But it was, mainstream media does that thing that the crazy 15 on the right just can't fucking handle, which is the mainstream media a few years ago decided that, in the case of people who are transitioning, that they're just going to respect the wishes of the individual and call them whatever that individual wants to be called. So in the case of this shooting, it was initially reported that it was an 18-year-old woman in a dress. Turns out that's not the case at all. It's a guy. This is a guy who was transitioning. He's been transitioning since he was 12, but became very clear who this person was early on. And it started out the whole thing, just another trans person. These trans people, they're just killing people left and right. Another trans mass shooting. I'm like, I don't know that's a thing. Like, I'm fairly normal in the middle. I don't think these mass shootings, like when a mass shooting happens, I don't immediately go, probably a trans person. I know that the Nashville shooting from a couple of years ago was perpetrated by a trans person. But again, that body count there doesn't make the got to have at least 10 dead within the last 10 years. So that's not even a major one. The Nashville school shooting was promoted as a major one simply because the person was trans. And so Fox News got like 2 weeks of, wire-to-wire programming out of the fact that the person was trans. But it wasn't, in any standard, a more significant shooting than any of the other mass shootings that we have. As I said, it doesn't even make the list of the last 10 years of mass shootings. I made a list. In 10 years, mass shootings in America, criteria is you got to have a death toll of above 10, and then we're going to look at what these people are. And as I said before the break, I think you're going to be surprised at how diverse it is. But here is the thing. It ain't all fucking trans people. Like they're trying to make us believe. We are right now in the throes of a cycle on social media, specifically on Twitter, that is trying to convince us that all of these shootings are trans people, and this is another reason to hate trans people. It's just not true. The suspect has been identified, an 18-year-old woman who had dropped out of the school about 4 years ago. She was born biologically male. See, this is what I mean. She was born. They're respecting the individual's wishes, even though this fucking individual is a monster. But they're still respecting the wishes of the individual because they wouldn't want to offend somebody. The 18-year-old woman had dropped out of school about 4 years ago. Police said she was born biologically male and transitioned about 6 years ago. Police said officers had visited their residence several times due to mental health concerns. Most of the victims were children, 5 students between 12 and 13 years old, as well as the 11-year-old stepbrother of the suspect were killed. Also, a teacher was killed and the mother. This monster's mother was also killed. All right, so that happened. 12-year-old, is this one of the victims? All right, I can't look at the pictures of the victims. All right, so there you go. So that's basically what happened up there in Canada. Now, what happened as a result of that, because that case was, that's absolutely a trans person. That is the person who was transitioning, who was going through this, and they went a little nuts and they killed a whole bunch of people, and they are a fucking monster. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that they are a monster because they are trans. I'm not saying that all trans people are monsters. I'm saying that this particular person is a fucking monster and they happen to be trans. And if you can't accept that, there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean that all trans people are monsters. It means that this particular person was obviously having some kind of mental break, some kind of mental instability. The police in the region had been to the home multiple times over the years. This person was trouble. It was on the radar. They'd been kicked out of schools. They'd gone to alternative schools. That's who this person was. This person has a long history of having serious mental problems and antisocial behaviors. Also, they're transitioning. Now, in this particular case, I question the legitimacy of this person thinking that they're trans. This person is obviously a crazy person. How do I know? Because they made a decision to kill their mother, their stepdaughter, and then go to a school and mow down a bunch of 12-year-olds. That's how I know they're fucking crazy. Now, They additionally happen to be somebody who think that they were born a different body type. Why do they think this? Well, because that's become a very popular option over the last 10 years. A lot of open discussion about, transitioning being real and all of that. So what I'm trying to say here is, I think this person may not have been a real trans. We don't know. What we do know is that this person is a violently insane monster. Okay? So every other choice that they make, their favorite color was red, has nothing to do with anything. Everything is all about that we know they are a violently, mentally broken monster. So anyway, of course, Twitter wants to now make like all trans people are capable of this. Bridge too far for me, Like I said, I've known a couple of trans people, certainly not to the extent that we're led to believe. Like, we're led to believe that like trans people are everywhere. Let me see. Hold on. Trying to think of the last time I saw an obvious trans person out in the wild. They are not as common as we are being led to believe they are. And when you do see them, just be nice. Just no reason to treat them like anything. Just don't be a dick, But they're not nearly as common. I think it's been... Have I seen a trans person here in the Midwest? Well, it's so hard to tell in the winter because, fur coats and stuff like that. I don't know. Anyway, point is this. The person did happen to be trans and transitioning, but I don't know that this is some aha moment for all you crazy people on the right because, they want to do whatever they can to marginalize or be cruel to this newly emerging group of American citizens who are embracing this kind of trans thing, which is, again, for me, fine. I don't care. Why do I care? It's not me. It's not, I don't care. You shouldn't either. So whatever trans people are. I don't know that we have any solid proof that trans people are more likely to commit these kinds of shootings than, let's just say, I don't know. How about Islamic terrorists, people born in other countries who come over here and do jihad? How about, let's just go ahead and say it. How about the middle-aged white guy who life didn't work out for and he's fucking pissed? How about that guy? The trans person, we got the trans person. We've just got any kind of collection of, weird, mentally untaken care of. I don't know how to describe it. Because there's so many people who are mentally unwell who have never been to a head doctor, who have no idea what's wrong with them. They just know they keep losing jobs and, get arrested all the time. All right, so here's what I did. So I decided after some things were going around on Twitter, here's an example of it. This was going around on Twitter yesterday. I want to show you this. This is all part of our series on me calling out bullshit on Twitter. Twitter is nothing but misinformation. It's all just bad stuff designed to make stupid people feel good about believing stupid people things. All right, so here you go. It says, who is behind mass shootings? Taya says. Travel, flying. What's Taya's deal? Taya's got 159,000 fucking followers. Taya is the CEO and entrepreneur, pilot, a hot chick. She's a hot chick who's also a pilot. Yeah, she's real. This is not a real person, okay? Oh, look, Grego's following her. Grego follows like the worst people. Anyway, so Taya says, who's behind mass shootings? Mass shootings, 4+ deaths. Well, that is the FBI, but, that's the big ones. The big ones, 10+. Body count of 10+ is all that gets me to fucking react these days. Mass shootings, 4+ deaths per million people by group. And she gives us a little list here where she says trans non-binary is at the top there at 0.769. Then trans females are right in second place at 0. I don't know what this means. Asian men. See, that's bullshit because you have to go back to the Virginia Tech shooting to find an Asian. Honest, I've done the research. You have to go all the way back to like 2012 to find an Asian who has perpetrated one of these crimes. Not true. Not true. I just realized that. Not true. Oh my God. Of like the 10 that I researched, I am now starting to realize that maybe the Asians do have a pretty strong representation here. Okay, so there are a couple of black men. Well, now that's unfair. That's unfair to have the black men in here because here's why. If we are going by the metric of 4+ deaths, that equals a mass shooting. Well, now we're incorporating gang violence, which I think is where we get a lot of black male shooters. And it's not the same thing. Gang violence is not the same thing as you having to worry about your mother going to Walmart. It's not the same fucking thing unless your mother hangs out in neighborhoods where they sell crack on street corners. And I don't think she does. Your mom just goes to the Walmart and you want her to be safe. So it's not the same thing. Then we got white men at 0.176, Asian women at 0.97, and Hispanic men coming in at number 7. I can tell you straight up, that's some bullshit about Hispanic men because I have done the research and Hispanic men are involved in mass shootings. Hispanic men are well represented. All right, let's get into the list that I pulled together. Again, the criteria here for this list of mass shootings and hold on. Sorry. So this is Taya. Taya says all this stuff, by the way. I just wanted to make sure that this point gets out there. Taya says all of this stuff. Would you be surprised to find out that this is all complete madness? There's no sources. This is all just made up numbers. And Grok actually answers this for you. It says, no, Grok says, this chart is not legitimate. Fact checks from sources like factcheck.org and Lead Stories confirm it is a misrepresented viral graphic with inaccurate data. Actual statistics show transgender individuals are involved in a tiny fraction, 0.1% of mass shootings, far from overrepresented. For reliable data, check gun violence archives or violence prevention. Okay, so again, Grok and community notes is pretty good, but it doesn't seem to stop the people from posting these absurd things. They just make some shit up, they post it, and then they don't worry about Grok or all that because whoever they're trying to reach with the misinformation is just going to believe their misinformation because these are simple-minded people who want to believe what they want to believe. And anything that sort of gives them a number that they can shout, 1.067 trans people, I saw it on Twitter. They love that. True or not, doesn't matter. Okay, so there you have it. Everybody's trying to tell you that trans people are more violent. I imagine, I haven't looked in the chat room right now, but I bet you Frank is in there saying some shit about trans people and how violent they are. Let's see. Hold on. Is Frank in there? Hold on, let me see. Frank, hold on. Frank. College professors. No, Frank. Okay, all right, Frank. I thought Frank was going to be like, no, they're all trans people. All right, so here again is the criteria. Last 10 years, mass shootings in America, 10 years, America, body count, 10 or above. These are the big ones. These are not, these are the big ones. These are the big body counts, 10, over 10. It started out over 20. I was like, we're just going to start this out over 20. But then I was like, there's not a whole lot of these shootings where there's body counts over 20. So I lowered it to 10. I figured 10 sounded like a good round number, good round sad number, if you will. So let's go through this, okay? So again, criteria being the last 10 years in America, body count of over 10 or more. Now, the number one mass shooting in American history, all right, the number one, the biggest one occurred in 2017. That was the Las Vegas shooting. 60 people. That's the high. 60 people. And just what a horrible, horrible situation that was, huh? By the way, that was the room that I stayed in. I've told you guys this. He did that from the honeymoon suite there at the Mandalay Bay. That's the exact same room that me and my son's mother stayed in. Oh, yeah. I got pictures I can show you of the exact same view. Anyway, point is this. He did this like 10 years after we stayed there, but still same room, the honeymoon suite right there. Anyway, point is this. That was 60 dead, and that was Stephen Paddock. Stephen Paddock was a 64-year-old white straight male. All right. So look at that, white people. If, whatever pride you take in these kinds of things, the white man is at the top of the heap. The most successful, God, what an awful way to phrase it. The most successful mass shooter in American history is a 64-year-old white male. Now, I don't know, I don't know what his politics were. I don't think anybody knows what Stephen Paddock's politics were. He was just very weird. He had like a mail order Filipino bride that he was, married to. She was much younger than him. He had a lot of money from real estate and gambling, and he just lost his nut and he killed a bunch of people. But he was straight, he was white, and he was 64 years old. All right, there you go. That's number one. That was in 2017, 60 dead. Also in 2017, in the great state of Texas. That's right, Texas, be proud. You have so many mass shootings. Texas is really good with mass shootings, man. They're all, or really bad. Really bad. 2017, 1 month after the Las Vegas shooting, Sutherland Springs Church in Texas. 2017, Sutherland Springs Church in Texas, 26 dead. That was perpetrated by Devin Kelly. Devin Kelly is a white, straight Texan, former military. And we're going to say former military because that's going to become a theme. That's right. We're building Marines and then setting them out there in America, and they have mental fucking problems and they love their guns. And yeah, I know we're looking for themes. You're looking for the trans theme, but unfortunately, United States military veteran seems to be the real theme. Sutherland Springs, Texas, 2017, 26 people dead, white, straight, 26-year-old Devin Kelly, military veteran. 2018, Thousand Oaks, California, 12 people dead. That was the bar. It was a bar. Guy went into a bar, killed a whole bunch of people. 12 people dead, 2018, Thousand Oaks, California. Perpetrator, trans? No. This perpetrator was a 28-year-old white, straight Marine corporal, Ian David Long. Ian David Long, white, straight Marine corporal, 2018, Thousand Oaks, California, 12 dead. Also in 2018, 17 dead at Parkland High School. Or Parkland, Florida, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. 2018, 17 people dead. That was perpetrated by 19-year-old American kid, Nicholas Cruz. I don't know what category he fits into. He's 19 years old. He's an American citizen. He's a kid living down there in Florida. He killed 17 people. Put him in whatever category you want. I think he's just going to fit into the holy fuck, do we need better fucking mental health in this country? Because if you know anything about the story of Nicholas Cruz, everybody knew that dude was a school shooter. Everybody knew for years. All right, that's Parkland. That's 2018. Also in 2018, look at this. 2018, terrible year, man. 2018, we had Thousand Oaks, California with 12 dead. 2018, we had Parkland High School with 17 dead. 2018, out there in Pittsburgh, remember the Tree of Life synagogue murders? That's right, Tree of Life, 2018, 11 Jewish people killed in their synagogue. Perpetrator, trans? No. This perpetrator is another straight white guy. Straight white, former military veteran, 46-year-old Robert Bowers, according to accounts which were given by Bowers' co-workers and analysis of his social media. His conservatism became radicalized as MAGA white nationalism. All right, there you have it. That's 46-year-old Robert Bowers. 2018, killed 11 people. White guy, 46, former military. 2019. This is where I say Texas is well represented. 2019, the El Paso Walmart, 23 people dead. Perpetrator, 21-year-old Patrick Crucius from Allen, Texas. Straight, white, super MAGA kid from Texas. Killed 23 people. Again, we haven't found one trans person yet because, as I told you, the only other case of a trans shooter that you're going to be able to come up with is the Nashville shooting. And by this criteria of 10 dead, it doesn't even make the list. You know who does make the list? A whole bunch of just regular fucked up Americans. Okay? So if we are looking to pin this on anybody, why don't we start just focusing on regular fucked up Americans who obviously need some kind of mental health help but aren't getting it? But we can't do that because that's tax dollars. We can't put money into mental health. We've got a desert to fill with outdated military equipment. We've got a battleship that we need to place in the desert. We can't give money so that schools can make sure that their fucked up kids don't kill everybody. All right, that's 2019. El Paso, Walmart, 23 dead. Also in 2019, the Virginia Beach shooting, 12 dead. 12 dead in Virginia Beach in 2019. This was perpetrated by 40-year-old straight white guy, former Marine Dwayne Craddock. He was military. That's right, Dwayne. You don't name a kid Dwayne, okay? 2019. 2021, Boulder shooting. Okay, now here we go. It's a little different. We've just gone on a run where I've given you nothing but straight, angry white men and a couple of fucked up kids. Here we go to 2021. Let's let the terrorists, the real terrorists, get represented. Boulder, Colorado, 10 people dead. 2021. Ahmad Ali Al-Wawli, 21 years old, Syrian national. Said that he was doing this on behalf of ISIS. All right, there we go. That's something that we really need to be careful of. We bet. The other ones, how are you going to track every fucking mentally unstable white middle-aged man in America? You can't. But these people, all right, he's here from Syria. He's got some radicalism in him. 21 or 10 dead in 2021 in Boulder. The perpetrator of that, Ahmad Al-Alwi Al-Isi. 2022. Here we go. Let's jump to 2022. Texas representing again Uvalde. 21 dead, 21 kids. 18-year-old American citizen, Salvatore Ramon. But he's brown, so, racists and bigots might want to, put that in a category. They'll go, more brown people. See, yeah, but I think he's an American citizen. 2022, Uvalde, 21 dead, 18-year-old Salvatore Ramon. Also in 2022, remember this one, Buffalo supermarket shooting. Remember the guy went into the supermarket in Buffalo and just started killing people. 10 dead. That was perpetrated by 19-year-old white, straight, super far right, Peyton Gendon. That's right. It's another right, straight, super far right. Votes the way you do. You people out there posting about how it's all trannies doing this. Well, you seem to vote with a lot of people who Peyton Gendron, 2022 Buffalo supermarket. 2023, the Lewiston, Maine shooting, 18 dead, perpetrated by white, straight, 40-year-old military member Robert Card. Robert Card had all kinds of mental problems. He had so many mental problems, the military was trying to deal with it, and the military was like, we don't know what to do with this guy. So he commits the Lewistown shooting. 2023, that was 18 dead. In 2023, there was the Star Ballroom in Monterey Park, California. Now, this is interesting because remember I told you when we were going over that bullshit list on Twitter that said the trans people were most responsible for shootings and blah, blah, blah. And then Asian dudes were like second. I was like, I don't know. I think the only Asian dude I can remember is the dude from Virginia Tech. That was the South Korean national. But that didn't fall within 10 years. That's like 2012. Here we go. 2023, Monterey Park, California, the Star Ballroom. 11 dead. Gunman identified as 73-year-old Hu Con Tran. Do you remember this one? This was the guy he was running. He an old Vietnamese dude. He lost his wife. He met his wife when he was a dance instructor at this place called the Star Ballroom, 50 years ago or something. And one night he just woke up, took all his guns, went down to the Star Ballroom and just shot a whole bunch of people. Then got away from there, got in his car and drove. This is an old not trans man. This is an old Vietnamese man. So he gets in the car. His name is Tran. So he gets in the car, he drives to another place and he kills people there too. And then finally the next day, like 20 hours later, police, this was live on CNN. I remember watching it. It was a Sunday afternoon. He was in a white van and police had surrounded the white van. And anyway, they ended up killing him. But there you have it. It's another Asian. It's an Asian man, an old Asian man. All right. So, and then of course I'll mention this one. I wanted to mention it because I don't want you people to think that I'm not talking about it. But on March 27th, 2023, a mass shooting occurred at the Covenant School, which is a Presbyterian church school in Green Hills neighborhood of Nashville, Tennessee. 28-year-old Aiden Hale, a former student of the school, killed 3 9-year-old children and 3 adults before being shot and killed by 2 Metropolitan Nashville Police Department officers. That was a trans person. That is Aiden Hale, 28-year-old Aiden Hale, who was killed in Nashville in 2023 as a trans person. But again, the body count there was only 6. So, I guess by the federal definition of body counts, as was used in that very, very bullshit post that I started off this conversation with, it's 4. But, I think that we as regular people, look, there's 4 people get killed in bad neighborhoods around this country every night, whether it's South Central, whether it's Harlem, whether it's wherever. So, I get it that that's the number, but really mass shootings for me, I think are 10 and up. And if we've learned anything from this little exploration into the history, the past decade of mass shootings in this country, I think we can find this. It is far more people like me, middle-aged white dudes who are angry and looking to fucking go out. It is far more likely to be somebody like me than it is to be some sort of Middle Eastern terrorist, some brain scrambly trans person, some illegal alien, black women. I don't think a black woman has ever done a mass shooting because they're blessed. All right. Anyway, there you have it. Let's talk about Ro Khanna naming some names. Ro Khanna, the California congressman, he did what Thomas Massie said that he was preparing to do. I have to believe that Thomas Massie is preparing this on a much larger scale. But the other day, Ro Khanna, he gets up on the floor of Congress and he starts naming names. He names from the Epstein list, names that were redacted that members of... See, before Pam Bondi spoke yesterday about the Epstein files, the members of the panel and members of Congress requested an opportunity to see all of the files unredacted before Bondi comes in here because they need to talk to her about the redactions. So Congress is like, you've got to unredact it. So they did. So they're like, oh, we'll absolutely make that available to you. Now, there's 500 members of Congress who wanted to see this. And the Department of Justice provided 4 computers, 4 computers for 48 hours for all 500 people. And so obviously it wasn't the way they wanted, but some people were able to find out some things. And Ro Khanna, California congressman, he hit the floor of Congress the other day and he gave us some names. All right. So here, let me give you some names. First and foremost, if you remember in the early days of people exploring this latest Epstein trench dump, people were talking about the email that Epstein responded to. Epstein responded, hey, I love that torture video that you sent me. And the name of the person who sent the torture video had been redacted. All right, so we know who that is now. That turns out to be Saudi Arabian Sultan Ahmed bin Suleiman, one of the most important people there in Saudi Arabia. Sultan Ahmad bin Sulayam is the guy who sent Jeffrey Epstein a torture video that Jeffrey Epstein really enjoyed. Ro Khanna mentioned his name. Can we get a look at this guy? Should we look at these? Do we have an available? Oh, here he is. I don't like that picture though because it's a video. Since when does all right, hold on. I was just gonna go to YouTube because YouTube always has a picture of these people just so you can see what this monster looks like. And for some reason, YouTube's got a picture of him, but it's a video. It's like, I've never seen it be a video and not a picture. All right, here he is. This is the guy who sent Jeffrey Epstein a torture video that Jeffrey Epstein really appreciated. Oh, man, that torture video is awesome. Why? Well, here he is. Hold on. Get rid of that. There he is. All right, there he is. Saudi Arabians, they're our good friends now. We don't care if they watch torture videos or murder journalists or what. It doesn't matter because they've carved out a big old place in the desert and they're allowing Trump to develop it into his exile mansion community. Here he is. This guy watches torture videos and he shares them with his friends like Jeffrey Epstein. That's him. pictures. Look at them. Look at you, you fucking look. Seriously, look at it. Oh, here he is. Oh my God, look at that. It's him hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. Look at that. All right, what's this one? This is another email between them. I am in China. I will be in the U.S. second week of May. Where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video. There you go. All right, so this is Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein sends to this guy, where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video. And this guy responds, I'm in China. I'll be in the U.S. the second week of May. All right, there you have it. There's who these people are. They're allowed to do these things. They're allowed to rape your kids because they got money, and we like people with money. People with money are better than us because maybe at some point they'll look at us and they'll say, would you like to come be with us with the money? And it will be like, yes, I'll do whatever you want if I can just be with you. You're the money people. Our brains are poisoned, folks. Brains are poisoned. All right, so that's the guy who sent the torture video. Here's another guy that was named Nicola Caputo. Nicola Caputo. Let's look at this guy, shall we? Here we go. Here's a good picture of Niccolo Caputo. Some import. Okay, here we go. There he is. Look at him. There he is. Nicholas Caputo, the big old freak. Nicholas Caputo is an Italian politician who was a member of the European Parliament, okay? He likes them young, Nicholas Caputo. He was named by Ro Khanna on the floor. His name was redacted. Don't know why. This guy here's a fun one, right? This is a guy that we've known about for a while, but he's been in the barrel a time or two. He is, of course, Les Wexner. Les Wexner, who for some reason, there he is right there. For some reason, everybody's like, oh, he's the guy that started Victoria's Secret. That's not even like his most famous thing. Victoria's Secret is the one that everybody mentions because it's like sexy and dirty. This guy basically invented mall clothing stores. He invented The Limited. He invented Express. He owned Lane Bryant. He owned like all of this shit. And yes, later, after he became a billionaire, he bought a very small lingerie company in Southern California, rebranded it as Victoria's Secrets, and there you go. But that's not why Les Wexner is like a billionaire. He's a billionaire because back in the 60s, he was opening Gaps and Limited stores and Limited Express and, all of that stuff. Anyway, that's Les Wexner. He got named. He's an old perv. You know that he started Victoria's Secrets because he's an old perv. Les Wexner got named and wrote by Ro Khanna on the floor. His name had been redacted from... hold on. All right. Then we got a couple of Russian oligarchs who I don't have a whole lot of information on. Ro Khanna mentioned the name of Leonid Leonov. Okay. And then we got a Zurab Mikoladze. We also have a Salvatore Nuara, who we don't have a lot of information on. But it is interesting that these are the names that Ro Khanna mentioned, okay? Ro Khanna, here's what he did. This was very specific. These aren't the only names. These are just the names that he chose to mention. And who did he mention? He mentioned one, the guy we all wanted to know. Everybody wanted to know who the torture video guy was. So thank you. Ro Khanna gave us that. Found out that that's the Sultan Ahmad bin Suleiman, okay? And then he gave us a bunch of fucking nobodies that we don't know. Non-Americans, foreign people he named, non-Americans. He did name Leslie Wexner, but Leslie Wexner had already been widely talked about. So it's almost like he included Leslie Wexner in here as, a little, see, some Americans. But I believe that Ro Khanna specifically held back on naming American business executives and American people. This first dump is all foreigners. So it's easy to do that, right? He doesn't have to worry about, the repercussions here domestically by naming the guy who runs whatever. So he just names a bunch of Russian oligarchs, a bunch of guys in Italy that we don't know. He mentions the Arab guy in the torture video because that's really what we wanted. That's all I wanted to know who the torture video guy was. If I learned nothing, just let me know who the torture video guy was. And he gave us that. But there are more names There are names of Americans. Don't think that, oh, see, it was just foreigners. No, it's not just all foreigners. It's a lot of other people too. But one person who was named, I wanted to talk about this person for a second here. We have never heard the name of Leslie Groff before. Leslie Groff, I just learned about 2 days ago. Leslie Groff was Jeffrey Epstein's constant companion and personal assistant. Jeffrey Epstein went nowhere without Leslie Groff. Leslie Groff lived for a period of time with Jeffrey Epstein before she got married and ended up having kids and all that stuff. But Leslie Groff is as close to the center of what Jeffrey Epstein was involved in as anybody else. But we look past Leslie Groff because they fed us on a silver platter Ghislaine Maxwell, who wasn't nearly as involved in all of the horrific things that Jeffrey Epstein was doing as Leslie Groff was. Now, why don't we hear about Leslie Groff? Because Leslie Groff was the first person that was granted immunity and indemnified down in Florida in the deal that Jeffrey Epstein made. Remember, Jeffrey Epstein made a deal with Alex Acosta, who was the prosecutor down there. They decided that they weren't going to embarrass all these rich, wealthy people who like to diddle kids, so they would make a deal with Jeffrey Epstein. And Jeffrey Epstein said, whoa, before you make this deal with me, I'm going to need complete immunity for the people in my inner circle. Ghislaine Maxwell, who people seem to think was like his girlfriend and all of this stuff and his closest confidant, wasn't even in the inner circle that Jeffrey Epstein sought to indemnify. Leslie Groff was. And Leslie Groff is still out there. She's in New York. She's a big Manhattan lady. We don't even know this fucking lady's name. Here, let me show you some pictures of her just so we get an idea of Leslie Groff, who's been granted total immunity from all of the things that she did. And what are some of the things that people believe that she did? Well, she was the primary, what people suspect, as she was Jeffrey's right-hand man. She was the primary wrangler of underage girls. She was the keeper of all the secrets. And nobody even mentions her name. Nobody even talks about her. All right, let's take a look at Leslie Groff. Okay, here she is, Epstein. What the fuck? Why can't I find pictures of her? There. Oh, here she is. All right, here's a picture of her. Jeffrey Epstein associate. But why is she not coming up? Why are there all? Okay, well, I guess there are some pictures here. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at Jeffrey Epstein's secret keeper of all of the darkness, Leslie Groff. We don't talk about her. She's now being mentioned in the Epstein files. Of course she is, because everybody's going through Leslie to make contact with him. All right, here we go. All right, this is Leslie Groff. I don't know who she's with. Who's this? She with Jerry Jones here? I don't know. By the way, she's a very attractive woman. She is in her late 40s. When she started working with Jeffrey Epstein, she was in her early 20s. So, you know, she's just a really... Here she is on a bar. Apparently back in the Epstein days, she's partying at like some bar. That's her. That's not her. That's not her. That's not... See, there she is. This is the woman that nobody is talking about. She was closer to Jeffrey Epstein than anybody. Jeffrey Epstein woke up in the morning and the first thing he did was he started texting with her about what was going on. She was his right-hand man. There she is. All right. All right, now let's learn about her. Here, I want to tell you a little bit about her. Here we go. Let's pull up her Wikipedia page because I'll tell you some interesting stuff in here. Leslie Groff. Leslie Groff was born in 1966. She's an American woman known for being the longtime executive assistant to Jeffrey Epstein. No, I would argue that she is not known for that. I would argue that we all think it's Ghislaine Maxwell. It's this woman who has never faced trial for anything because back in 2007, she was granted immunity by a fucking prosecutor in Florida. She has all the secrets and she doesn't have to do anything. Apparently, she also received a fucking boatload of money from the Epstein estate when he died. Probably to keep the secrets. Leslie Groff is an American woman known for being the longtime executive assistant to Jeffrey Epstein. Groff was named as a co-conspirator in the 2007 non-prosecution agreement and a suspected co-conspirator in 2019 after Epstein's death. Her career, it says here, Leslie Groff joined the Epstein organization in 2000 and worked for him for nearly 20 years. She was paid a lavish salary for executive assistants in the financial industry at the time. She was paid a lot more than any other executive was paying their personal assistant at the time. Why? Because she was handling shit that regular executive assistants don't have to handle. It says here she was reportedly gifted a Mercedes-Benz and a full-time nanny by Epstein so that she could commute to work easier after having children. Her job responsibilities including scheduling all appointments for all of Epstein's companies, foundations, and trusts, and his personal entanglements. Her association with Jeffrey Epstein, Groff was listed as one of 4 women. Groff was listed as one of 4 women who were known to be co-conspirators. Let's see. Groff was listed as one of 8 suspected co-conspirators alongside Ghislaine Maxwell, blah, 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 in the initial 2019 investigation. All right, we're all over the road here. You don't need to know. You read it yourself. All we need to know here is this Epstein shit. There are people who are involved at the highest level whose names we're not even hearing. Why isn't there some YouTuber fucking chasing Leslie Groff down the streets of Manhattan every fucking day? Can we get Nick Shirley on that shit? This woman is just working in Manhattan. She's still an important person. She's got a job and she's got clients and she's got a shit ton of money. And she is Epstein's right-hand woman. And nobody, well, we got Ghislaine. Ghislaine is apparently nothing compared to this woman. So fuck, let's go. Well, we can't touch her because you see, Florida made a deal where we wouldn't prosecute. Oh my God. She's also, by the way, at the center of Ghislaine Maxwell's entire issue. Ghislaine Maxwell thinks that she ought to be let out of prison because Ghislaine Maxwell feels that she falls under the exact same category that was granted to Leslie Groff. But somehow Ghislaine's in prison. Ghislaine is the one they put in prison. And rightfully so. I'm not saying she should be released from prison. I'm saying there is a whole lot more that need to go to prison other than just Ghislaine fucking Maxwell. And now we have to worry about Ghislaine Maxwell being let out because the people in the 1%, the people at the top are looking at this going, yeah, it is kind of unfair that we only put 1 in prison. Let's put none in prison. People are not talking about this anymore, right? Let's just let Ghislaine out. Trump's going to let her out. And you people are going to be okay with it to the extent that you're going to fucking tweet. You're gonna hear from Benny Johnson or somebody what the appropriate thing to say about this is, and then that's gonna be how you think. You people, you don't know it yet, Byron. You'll be advocating for Ghislaine Maxwell's release. You watch. No, I'm kidding. Not Byron. Not Byron and not Barney. I think that the pedophilia is maybe a bridge too far. It's getting them to believe that their guy is involved in pedophilia is the true Rubicon we need to cross. But as I say, there's just a lot of people that refuse to believe that Trump was as good of friends with Jeffrey Epstein as it is becoming absolutely clear that he was. All right, that's the Epstein stuff. What else do we want to do here? Oh man! All right, so we'll get into this story. I don't want to really do this story, but we get to this point in the show. I got to do a story like this early because it upsets me. Here's the story out of Prosper, Texas. This goes back a year now, and it's only being reported widely because the British government doesn't understand what the Texas government was fucking thinking. So back in 2024, a British citizen, a citizen of the United Kingdom, came to Texas to visit her father. So you're following this? So there is a girl who lives in England. Her biological daddy is a Texan in Prosper. And so she comes and visits him. Apparently she visited him a lot. It's not rare. It's not like, I'm meeting my daddy for the first time. No, she's a citizen of the UK, and she travels regularly to Texas to hang out with her father. Okay, that's at least what I've been able to patch together from a number of stories. They were very, as is the case with a lot of young women, there are a lot of young women between the ages of, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, whatever, young women who do not fucking like Trump. All right. He is not popular with young women. He's just not. He's like, they hate him. They know exactly what he is. He's a rich guy who's going to try and grab my ass. They know exactly what he is. He's gross. He's creepy, right? But that doesn't really affect Dad, right? Dad in this scenario, he's got the MAGA hat. He's, Mr. fucking, Trump, Mr. MAGA, Mr. Prosper. He's probably got a fucking 350 with truck nuts on the back. He's that guy. So here comes his hot little British daughter. And by the way, she's beautiful. She was like a really pretty girl. So she comes and she's staying with him, and she's brought her boyfriend. Her boyfriend is actually staying on this trip. Daddy, I'm going to come stay with you in Texas for the summer, and I'm going to bring my new boyfriend. I'm sure Dad didn't love that, but whatever. All right. So boyfriend's there. English hot girl is there. MAGA dad is there. Apparently there's some other people in the family. And by the way, it should be noted, they live in Prosper. Okay. So they're not all on top of each other. They're not living in a shitty apartment and they're all, just on top of each other. No, they're in fucking Prosper. They're probably in $1 million home, right? Dad's probably, makes a good living. Texas dad fatally shoots his own daughter after a big argument about Donald Trump. I'll read you the story. And again, understand that this was a year ago. A Texas man will not face charges after gunning down his daughter after they got into a heated argument about President Trump. Lucy Harrison. Boy, that's a real English name, isn't it? That's like Lucy Harrison. That's very English. Lucy Harrison, who was visiting from the United Kingdom, died of her wounds after the 23-year-old was shot in the chest January 10th, 2025. So a year ago. January 10th, 2025 at her father's home in Prosper, Texas. Her dad, Chris Harrison, admitted, who moved back to the United States when his daughter was a child, admitted during an inquest that he was an alcoholic who had relapsed and drank 3 glasses of wine on the day of the shooting. This apparently reported by the BBC. Here's the daughter. Look at her. This is, hold on, we'll give you, it's a bit misleading because, modern 5s can get themselves to look like modern 10s using filters and stuff. But here, that's the daughter. That's the young lady, the 23-year-old daughter that dad killed. Okay, so he shot her. He shot her in the chest. Apparently they had differences about, politics or whatever. And dad is obviously a smart, together guy. He pulled out a gun and he murdered his daughter. A Texas grand jury said, nah, not enough evidence here. No, we're not going to prosecute. Okay, so that happened. That happened in June. Remember, the shooting occurred in January of last year. So by the time June rolled around of last year, they had a grand jury, and the grand jury failed to indict the father for murdering his daughter. England, they got their own thing over there. England, because one of their citizens was murdered while visiting a foreign country, they hold what are known as inquests and inquiries, where they try to look through the case and, hope best efforts are made by the justice system in whatever country where this crime occurred. England is finding that is not the fucking case. England is like, wait a second. You people didn't convict? This guy murdered this young, beautiful 22-year-old British citizen, and you guys failed. So England's a little bit upset about it right now. Let me give you some details on what supposedly happened here as we look at her. Lucy, beautiful 23-year-old Lucy Harrison. That's who we're looking at there. Lucy's death was initially being investigated by local cops as a possible manslaughter case, but no criminal charges were ultimately brought against the father after a Collin County grand jury decided against indicting him. She was traveling to the United States with her boyfriend, who later told a court the dad and daughter had a big argument about Trump before he was set to be inaugurated for his second term. Chris, the father, and Lucy frequently butted heads about her father's conservative leanings, particularly that he purchased a Glock handgun a few years earlier. Well, apparently that was a problem for the daughter. Daughter didn't like that he had a gun. Boy, was she proven right, huh? Seriously, was she fucking proven right? Jesus Christ, Dad. Fuck, your daughter doesn't like you having a gun because she thinks you're a fucking moron who can't handle having a gun. And how do you prove her wrong? You fucking murdered her. Jesus Christ. The argument started when Lucy pressed her father about an unspecified hypothetical scenario regarding a woman who had been sexually assaulted. All right, so Lucy and her dad, they're getting into an argument. And she's like, Dad, hypothetically, all right, what if this woman was sexually assaulted? So she's presenting this hypothetical situation to her dad. She said to him, and remember, this is the boyfriend who was there witnessing the whole thing. She said to her father, how would you feel if I was the girl in that situation and I'd been sexually assaulted? She asked her father. According to her boyfriend, Chris, the father, shot back that it wouldn't upset him that much because he had 2 other daughters. Let's get a look at this guy. Let's take a look at this good old Texan MAGA truck nuts motherfucker. There he is. Look at him. He looks like every one of you motherfuckers up there with a broke brain. Oh, no, wait. That's not it. Hold on. Sorry. I didn't move it. I didn't move it properly. Here you go. Let's take a look at this motherfucker. Here he is. There he is. Look at him. Oh, yeah. There he is. Is that Lucy? Look what's going on. You see what I mean about filters? What's going on with Lucy? Is that Lucy? That's Lucy and her dad in happier times. That's Lucy Instagram pictures. All right, so you get that? So she's like, Dad, what if I was raped? And he's like, well, it wouldn't bother me. I got 2 other daughters. Get the fuck out of it. I mean, could you imagine? Could you imagine? I mean, I know we say terrible things when we're in arguments with people we love, and we say the most terrible things to the people we love because we think we can get away with it with them. Like, you know, we wouldn't say the most terrible things to our boss at work because we can't get away with saying these terrible. It will have repercussions. But, you know, we say terrible things to the people we love most because we know there's really no problem with that they'll get over it because what the fuck? My mom's going to stay mad at me? When my kid's going to stay mad at me? My wife is going to say, well, your wife will stay mad at you. That's a word to the wise. All right. So here, let's go back to the story then, shall we? All right. There we go. All right. There it is. Father and daughter right there. Let's go back to the story. It says the argument started when Lucy pressed her father about an unspecified hypothetical scenario regarding a woman. According to the boyfriend, the father shot back that it wouldn't upset him that much because he had 2 other daughters. It was not immediately clear how Trump factored into the back and forth, but his callous response made Lucy very upset, according to the boyfriend. And it should. Could you imagine your father looking... Girl dads. All right, girl dads out there right now. So, what am I doing? What am I? Hold on. Sorry. We want to stay static on her. Oh, there's another picture of her. All right, we'll stay static on that picture. Okay. So she's like, no, Dad, you know, fathers and daughters. No, Dad. What if that happened to me? Well, I wouldn't care because I've got 2 other daughters. So now you're the daughter and you're processing that. I mean, what kind of a, again, going back to, I know we say terrible things, but that's almost even a bridge too far. Could you imagine girl dads out there? You guys, could you imagine saying that to your daughter? Could you imagine allowing your daughter to believe in her head that you wouldn't give a fuck if she was dead because she's got 2 other sisters and you wouldn't do that? No normal person would do that, would say that to their daughter, no matter how mad you are. I mean, no matter how angry I've gotten at my 16-year-old son, and I've gotten very angry at my 16-year-old son, I've never said anything like, if you were dead, I wouldn't care. You don't go there. Hold on. Let's see, what else do we have here? All right. Let's see, later that day, a few minutes before they were getting ready to leave the airport. All right, so they have the fight. She goes to a different room. They kind of calm down. She's leaving on this day, according to the boyfriend. They're leaving. They're going to the airport, DFW, to fly back to the UK. So this is before she left. So if this fucker, Chris Harrison, who lives in Prosper right now, who has absolutely been not fucking charged with anything, all this guy had to do was let her leave. Just let your daughter leave. If you're really done with your daughter because you're a monstrous human being who can do that to the children that you just don't want to have anything to do with, if you're that kind of mom, just let her leave and you never have to allow her back. But you didn't do that. You waited to the last minute and you fucking murdered her while she was getting ready to go to the airport. That's what happened here. Later that day, a few minutes before they were going to leave for the airport, Lucy's father took her by the hand and led her into his back bedroom. 15 seconds later, the boyfriend said that he heard a loud bang, followed by Chris, the father, screaming for his wife, Heather, according to the outlet. Boyfriend says, I remember running into the room and Lucy was lying on the floor near the entrance to the bathroom and Chris was just screaming, just sort of nonsense. According to the father's statement to police, he had been watching the news and offered to show her, his daughter, his gun after a segment on gun violence. As I lifted the gun to show her, I suddenly heard a loud bang. I did not understand what had happened. Lucy fell immediately, the father said, admitting he couldn't recall if his finger was on the trigger or not. He said he had battled alcoholism, including a stint in rehab, and that he had been drinking before the shooting took place. Police officer Luciana Escalara noted in her evidence report that she smelled alcohol on Chris's breath when she responded to the call. The father said that he fully accepted the consequences of his actions. Well, that's good, but, lucky for you, there will be no consequences for your actions because Collin County doesn't take gun violence fucking seriously and never have. Especially if you're a white guy from a rich fucking suburb. Chris said he fully accepted the consequences of his actions and that there isn't a day that I don't feel the weight of that loss, a weight I will carry for the rest of my life. Lucy's mother, Jane Coates, described her late daughter as a real force of life, saying she cared. She was passionate about things. She loved to have debates about things that meant a lot to her. All right. Well, she debated with the wrong person. Her fucking dad. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, I guess the grand jury bought that it was an accident, but he was drinking. He's an alcoholic who's been in rehab. He shouldn't be drinking. He is drinking. He had a huge fight with his daughter earlier before she was leaving, before the shooting occurred. On the same day, he had a huge fight with her where he told her he wouldn't care if she died because he's got 2 other daughters. And a grand jury in Collin County was like, well. And that's why the British government is like, what the fuck? What the fuck, America? All right. Sad story out of Prosper. That's why it's in the news today. The English are doing an inquiry, although the English admit there is absolutely nothing that they can do. This is another government. All the English can do is look into it and go, yeah, that was bullshit. We agree. But it's feckless. There is no teeth to whatever the British can do. All right. What else do we have? More today. Let's see. No, we don't need that. All right, let's talk a little bit about James Van Der Beek. James Van Der Beek, of course, the star of Dawson's Creek. He died yesterday. Cancer. I guess he had made an announcement a year or so ago that he had been suffering from cancer, and so he passed away. I have to be honest with you, but I do understand. I understand how important James Van Der Beek is to a lot of people. James Van Der Beek is not important to me. James Van Der Beek is not a big star in my life. I've never seen an episode of Dawson's Creek. Never seen it. Dawson's Creek started in 1998. I was 28 years old in 1998. I wasn't watching some WB teen-centered fucking... And if I was, it'd be weird. I mean, I was watching like, I don't know, what was I watching in 98? Sopranos, Murder One. No, Murder One was earlier than that. Sopranos, West Wing, right? I wasn't watching Dawson's Creek. But if you're 10 years younger than me, as many of my friends are, you are probably very sad because Dawson's Creek was very important to you. Dawson's Creek to you is like when, I don't know, I'm trying to come up with an example. Like, I don't know, maybe it's like when Gary Coleman died. I don't know. I'm just a little bit too old for the target demo of Dawson's Creek, so I never saw it. But I certainly am familiar with everybody in it. I'm familiar with Joey. I even know the names. Joey Potter, right? Or was it Porter? Or Joey Porter is a football player. Joey Potter is from Dawson's Creek. Whatever. Joey, that was Katie Holmes. We know about her. Then we had Pacey, right? Pacey was Joshua Jackson. His career, nowhere. Katie Holmes' career, kinda, but we think because of the connection to Tom Cruise, Katie Holmes' career post-Dawson, post-Tom Cruise, nowhere. Katie Holmes has no career. Dawson had no career. Michelle Williams, Jen, right? Michelle Williams, she's got a career. Michelle Williams has a legitimate career. Michelle Williams is debatably one of the finest actresses of her generation. And we know this because she only does movies that nobody sees because they're boring, artsy-fartsy films. And she gets nominated for everything all the time. Michelle Williams, she's the breakout. She's the breakout from Dawson's Creek. Dawson was not a breakout, James Van Der Beek. And he wasn't a breakout. And it's so weird that he is such an important cultural icon from a period of time, not too long ago. People who, he's very young. He's too young to die. James Van Der Beek, too young. So his fans are even younger than him. So his fans are like, my point is this. They had to create a GoFundMe for James Van Der Beek, a cultural icon from just about 20 years ago, because he didn't have enough money to pay for his fucking 2 years of cancer treatments. James Van Der Beek. James Van Der Beek's, here, let me give you the story here. James Van Der Beek's GoFundMe has raised over $1.5 million for his family in order to pay for. James Van Der Beek's wife and 6 kids are left broke after his death. GoFundMe raises more than $1.5 million in 24 hours. When beloved actor James Van Der Beek passed away on Wednesday, his family was left in dire financial straits from the cost of his cancer treatments. But a GoFundMe set up to help support his wife and 6 children has already raised more than $1.5 million in less than 24 hours. Van Der Beek, 48, got his big break in 1997 when he was cast in the lead role of Dawson Leary on Dawson's Creek, and also had notable roles in television shows like Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23 and CSI Cyber. No, I know he appeared in those shows, but nobody is famous from those shows. He's Dawson. He is an icon of American entertainment. He is a millennial icon. Cannot be denied. He is as fucking important as Greg Brady or, anybody else, Beaver, Jerry Mathers. That's who he is. So the very idea that 20 years after, while he is still in the prime of being this cultural icon, that this dude couldn't even pay for his cancer battle. We got to have a GoFundMe for cultural icons because healthcare in this system, in this country, is so fucked up that even our celebrity icons are going bankrupt, dying of cancer. Van Der Beek, 48, got his big break in 97 when he was cast in the lead role of Dawson Leary on Dawson's Creek. He also did some movies. What's the big one? What was Varsity Blues? That's it. Varsity Blues. Scary movie. Rules of Attraction and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back are a couple of his movies. Says here he survived. Yeah, you know what? We'll do this. Should show this picture because this is an adorable picture. Look at that. Look at that little cutesy. Oh, by the way. Hey, you guys, tell me if this is wrong. While we look at the picture of Dawson, James Vanderbeek, and his beautiful daughter there. Hold on, just trying to get everything settled. All right, so looking at the picture. So tell me, I told you earlier today we started the show about how I took a situation at the driver's license facility that probably could have gone badly, and I did everything that I could to make everybody happy and smile, and guess what? It all went my way. They went out of their way to make sure that I was satisfied. So I told that story earlier today about how it's all about choices. You walk into somebody and they're mean mugging you, don't mean mug them back because you're just going to escalate the badness. Do the opposite. Try and win them over. I did it, and it worked in my benefit. Now, something else happened, though. While I was there, while I was talking with Angela, who I told you about at the driver's license facility, while I'm talking with Angela, people next to me come walking up, and it's a mom. It's like a mid-20s, late 20s mom, and she's got like a little 2 or 3-year-old daughter with her. Oh, cutest little monkey you ever saw. She's, you know what I mean? Like, she's got her little winter hat on. She's dressed like a little polar baby because it's Chicago in February. And this little kid is just being a little kid at the DMV, doing all kinds of things. Like, so the little kid looks at me and goes, "Hey!" Like, the little kid looks at me, "Hey!" To which I turn and I look back and I go, "Hey yourself!" Like, right back at her. And she goes, "Oh." And then she smiled. I'm great with kids. Trust me, I'm great with kids. Kids all like me. Here's my point. The mother looked at me and the mother said, "Do you want her?" And I responded, like, you know, they always said, "You can take her home if you want." You know, parents do that. So she said, "Do you want her?" And I looked at her and I said, "I absolutely want her, but I don't know that I could afford her." And Angela, she laughed. Angela got it. But then I thought, oh, wait a second. Did I just make a sex trafficking joke? Did I just make an accidental sex trafficking joke? Because that's not what I meant. What I meant was I legitimately cannot afford a small child. I could not feed that child. I could not bathe or clothe that child. But after I said it, I immediately went, oh, fuck, did that sound like a sex trafficking joke? Is my high energy Mr. Fun Guy being nice to everybody in the moment? Did that just turn me into a suspected sex trafficker? I don't know. Anyway, this is beautiful. James Vanderbeek and his daughter right here. It says here, rose to fame in 90s television show Dawson's Creek. He was 48 years old. He's survived by his wife, Kimberly. They're 6 kids. 6 kids, man. Olivia, Joshua, Annabelle, Amelia, Gwendolyn, and Jeremiah Vanderbeek. One of his kids will be famous. Yeah, 10 years from now or something, 15 years from now, we'll hear about young Jeremiah Vanderbeek, and we'll be like, oh, is that? And we'll be like, yes, it sure is. It sure is his kid. According to TMZ, a representative for the Travis County, yeah, he died down there in Austin, by the way. According to TMZ, a representative for the Travis County Medical Examiner's Office in Austin, Texas, said that Vanderbeek's death was reported to them at 6:44 a.m. James Vanderbeek had announced that he was battling stage 3 colorectal, I can't pronounce that word, cancer. Telling People magazine that he was feeling good and optimistic despite the diagnosis. Do we want to look at this? Do we want to see him?
What do you do when you're staring?
All right, why not? Let's look at him. All right, here we go. James Vanderbeek. He seemed cool, right? I mean, nobody's got a problem with James. Has anybody got a problem with Dawson? Right? I mean, he's cool. Anyway, let's watch. All right, here he is. I mean, we don't have to watch the whole thing, but just let's.
What do you do when you're staring down a stage 3 diagnosis? This has been a crash course in mastery. Mind, body, spirit. Yeah, this is either going to take me out of the body or it's going to teach me how to truly live in it. On August 31st of last year, I became one of the many, many millions of Americans and people around the world who found out I have cancer. It was stage 3 colorectal cancer. So I'd been experiencing some symptoms. I went in to get a colonoscopy and felt really, really good as I was coming out of anesthesia that I had finally done it and looked into it. And as
All
I was
right.
coming out of the
You know what? God bless him.
The gastro
seems like a good dude.
Really,
I can't do it. We don't need to see that. Anyway, there you go. James Vanderbeek, 48 years old. Dawson Leary from Dawson's Creek. Show I've never seen, but a show that I respect as the significant cultural cornerstone for the millennial generation. It is. I mean, I'm not a millennial, so I can't, with any true accuracy, say what the four cornerstones are. But I would say that as far as millennial television goes, yeah, I would say Dawson's Creek is boom right there. The first shows. What do I mean by that? The first shows that television creators and producers and networks actively began targeting to millennials. That's what I'm talking about. And it was the rise of all of that WB and CW stuff. Dawson's Creek. What else did they have? There was Dawson's Creek. Party of Five is another one of those shows, right? What was the Sarah Michelle Gellar party? What's that chick's name? Michelle Sarah. I'm a witch. I'm a monster. I'm a zombie. What was fucking some show she was in? What was that show? I don't even know. Buffy the Vampire Hunter. That's Slayer. Whatever. Again, I'm not a millennial, so these were not cornerstone shows for me. But James Vanderbeek, certainly important there. Now, where does that put James Vanderbeek in the whole Death Trilogy thing? We do the Death Trilogy. We every year I like to create an ongoing flow of celebrities and who they are going to spend eternity with. Because as we know, here's a fact, celebrities die in threes. 3 celebrities will die within 10 days of each other all the time. Those 3 celebrities, they go up to heaven and they move into a new unit in the celebrity estates section of heaven where all the celebrities live. 2026, I believe we've got 4 Death Trilogies already. It's still early enough in the year that we can go through it. The first Death Trilogy of 2026, these 3 people are living together now for eternity in the celebrity wing of heaven. We got Bob Weir, Scott Adams, and knuckleballer Wilbur Wood. That's right. Bob Weir, Scott Adams, and Wilbur Wood are all living together. Death Trilogy number 2 for this year is Francis Buchholz. He is, of course, the bass player for the Scorpions. Scorpions! Franz Buchholz. He's going to be living with syndicated sports writer and sports legend Terry Boers and Alex Preddy. That's right, Alex Preddy. Alex Preddy is the odd celebrity who gets to live in the celebrity wing. He was not a celebrity in life. He became a celebrity in death. So that was the second Death Trilogy of 2026. Dude from the Scorpions, newspaper writer that I'm a massive fan of, and Alex Preddy. That is trilogy number 2. Trilogy number 3, we had Desmond Wilson. Desmond Wilson is, of course, Big Dummy from Sanford and Son. Lamont Sanford passed away on the 30th day of January. He was the first person in to our 3rd celebrity condo in the afterlife. Desmond Wilson was joined by Catherine O'Hara. Catherine O'Hara and Big Dummy from Sanford and Son died on the same day. Desmond Wilson, Lamont Sanford, and Catherine O'Hara are spending eternity living together. Who's going to join them? Did anybody close that one out? Yeah. Here's who's joining them. Chuck Negron from 3 Dog Night. Mama told him not to come. What goes up? I don't know. What's 3 Dog Night? Let's listen to some 3 Dog Night songs. Because I know Chuck Negron's a famous rock singer, and I know 3 Dog Night is a famous rock band. But let me just quickly see what comes up when I put in 3 Dog Night. I know they got a bunch of songs. They got a shit ton of big hits. Hold on. By the way, I do know some fun facts about the band 3 Dog Night. Do you know where that band comes from? The name 3 Dog Night? So up in Canada, if you were back in the back in the days when you were, what do they call it there? The Klondike or whatever. If you were up there in Canada at night when you went to sleep, if it was particularly cold, you would call it a 3 Dog Night. because that means you would need 3 dogs to sleep on top of you in your little igloo or wherever it is. That's what a 3-dog night is. A 3-dog night is a cold night where you need 3 dogs. All right, let's see here. Again, we've got the big dummy from Sanford and Son, Desmond Wilson. Then we got Catherine O'Hara, the great Catherine O'Hara, and they're joined in their Celebrity Death Trilogy by 3-Dog Night lead singer, writer, and founder Chuck Negron. All right, let's listen. Let's see. This is 3-Dog. Let's see what this is. Let's see. Hold on, that's not working. All right. All right, never mind. All right, so you know this one, right? I got to play it this way. Something's always broken. All right. What's this one? How about this one? Big hits. Right? He's got big hits. Yeah, this one. Shambhala. All right. All right, whatever. We've established that there are enough hits there in the category or the catalog of 3-Dog Night that we can put him into the Catherine O'Hara and Lamont Sanford trilogy. That was trilogy number 3. Trilogy number 4. Yeah, we do. We've got a trilogy number 4 here too. Hold on. Is this the one? Oh, yeah. Okay. Trilogy number 4. This started, we didn't mention this, but on the 6th day, just 1 week ago today, the world lost Sonny Jurgensen. Sonny Jurgensen. Who's Sonny Jurgensen? He's one of them old head football quarterbacks that we hear about a lot, right? You hear a lot about Sonny Jurgensen, Sid Luckman, Bobby Lane, all these guys. Who's the other one? Who was the guy with the Colts that I can't think of his name? The old flat top. Anyway, Sonny Jurgensen. Philadelphia Eagles and Washington Redskins quarterback, NFL champion, NFL Hall of Famer. Sonny Jurgensen died on the 6th day of February. He was 91 years old. He started a brand new death trilogy. He was joined, and how perfect is this? And I don't mean to say perfect. Sonny Jurgensen, Hall of Fame quarterback, is joined in his room by Detroit Lions great Tracy Scoggins. Not the Tracy. Wasn't there a Baywatch chick named Tracy Scoggins? No, this was the defensive end. I think he was a defensive end. Maybe he was a 3-tech. I don't know. He was a pretty tough defensive player. Tracy Scoggins, really good. He died young. Tracy Scoggins, only 56 years old, American football player, Detroit Lions legend, second in Detroit Lions history in sacks. So look at that. Sonny Jurgensen, an old quarterback, is joined forever in the apartment by a defensive end. That's quarterback and a defensive end. And this is who James Van Der Beek will join. James Van Der Beek closes out this death trilogy. This death trilogy is Sonny Jurgensen, professional football player, Tracy Scoggins, professional football player, and James Van Der Beek, who is the star of course, Varsity Blues. Isn't that interesting? That James Van Der Beek famously played a quarterback, and now he's going to live and spend the rest of his life with one of the greatest NFL quarterbacks of all time. All right, so that ends death trilogy number 4. But would you believe we had the rare situation where 2 celebrities died on the same day and they're not going into the same apartment because James Van Der Beek's death was announced first, which means James Van Der Beek moves into the available space there, right? So that's why James Van Der Beek joined Sonny Jurgensen and Tracy Scoggins in their death trilogy. But man, just a couple of hours after James Van Der Beek died, Bud Cort died. Who's Bud Cort? Oh, I don't know who Bud Cort is. You should look up Bud Cort. Bud Cort is a fascinating figure in the history of Hollywood because Bud Cort very easily could have gone on to become one of the most famous and award-winning and actors of all time. But he didn't. Yeah, he had a car accident and he got kind of fucked up and his kind of career went spiraling. But Bud Cort, let me tell you about how Bud Cort got. Bud Cort was 77 years old. You might know him from, well, before I tell you what you might know him from, let me tell you the story about how Bud Cort got his break. Bud Cort was performing in dinner theater. He was like a 21-year-old college kid who was performing in dinner theater somewhere in like Ohio. And he's performing in this play. And when the play is over, again, some funky dinner theater in Ohio, right? Probably half full, bunch of blue hairs. This is not the big time. Bud Cort is in this play. Bud Cort backstage gets told that somebody wants to talk to him. Somebody who is there watching the play would like to speak with Bud Cort. Don't know who this person is, but they want to talk to him. So Bud Cort goes, oh, whatever. And Bud Cort goes out, 20 years old, sits down with this guy. And this guy looks at him and says, hi, my name is Robert Altman, and I've got 2 films that I'd like you to star in. Bud Cort famously told the story about how he went home, he got into his shitty car and drove home to his house where his mother was, where he's living with his mother. He's 20 years old. He walks in the front door and the mother says she's watching TV in the other room as he's making his way up the stairs, because you know how we do when we come home to our house. He's all excited. He comes home. As he's walking by his mother says, how did the play go? And he said to her, well, Robert Altman, the director, was there, and he cast me in 2 of his upcoming films. And his mother replied, that's nice. There's dinner in the oven. So yeah, those 2 films, MASH was one of them, 1970. Robert Altman discovered Bud Cort on a stage somewhere in Ohio and cast him as, well, the original Radar O'Reilly. If you're familiar with MASH, right? Well, MASH, the TV show that we're all familiar with, is a spinoff of a much better film. The film MASH is much better than anything the television show ever did. And a lot of people think the television show is great. I think the television show is just serious. It's a comedy set in a serious. I don't think MASH is a particularly great show. I don't think Larry Gilbert is a particularly great showrunner or writer, but whatever. People love MASH, and MASH is a good show. It's a good show. It's not a great show. That's my opinion. The film, the Robert Altman film MASH, is a great film. And in that film, Bud Cort plays Radar O'Reilly. Now, the other film, Robert Altman had 2 films that he was making in 1970. He saw this dude, Bud Cort, on stage at this dinner theater and decided, I want to cast him in both. He makes him Radar O'Reilly in MASH. And then the other film was a film that you may not be familiar with. It's called Brewster McCloud. Brewster McCloud is a very weird, typically Robert Altman film. Robert Altman's an incredible filmmaker, but all of his movies are wild and weird and silly and fun. Brewster McCloud's a very weird movie, not as big as MASH, but at any rate, how about that for a night? And again, his mom said, how was the play tonight? And he said, oh, Mom, Robert Altman, the director, was there. He cast me in 2 of his big Hollywood movies. That's nice. There's dinner in the oven. That's how Bud Cort got discovered. Now, he made those 2 movies in 1970. And then in 1971, he would star in his biggest film, Harold and Maude, which starred him and Ruth Gordon. This is a classic film. This is a film that most people put on their lists of the greatest films ever made. It is the story of a teenage boy, Bud Cort, who falls in love with a 90-year-old woman, played by Ruth Gordon. And it's awkward and it's uncomfortable and it's a very strange and yet at the same time super sweet and truly honest relationship between 2 people. Like a 19, 20-year-old boy and this 80-year-old woman. They legitimately fall in love. Harold and Maude, great film. Anyway, Bud Cort died yesterday at 77 years old. Do we have any pictures of Bud Cort just so you can see? Again, this guy was on a rocket ship of a career in the early 70s. And then he had like a car accident or something, I believe it was. And so he stopped working and then the heat was off him by the time he got better. And we'll get some pictures of him. Bud Cort was a very unique looking guy. I think that when I show him to you, you're going to be like, oh, I've seen that guy before. Here he is. Bud Cort died yesterday at 77 years old. Star of MASH, star of Harold and Maude, star of Brewster McCloud. Yeah, we'll give you this one. All right, here's Harold and Maude. Yeah. So this is him from this is him and Ruth Gordon. This is his girlfriend. Harold and Maude is awesome, man. It is a really good movie because you feel very uncomfortable with the whole thing, and then at a period of time you forget that they're old, and you're like, oh my god, I love this couple. This couple is incredible. They're like the best couple. But then you fall back into, oh, but she's like 80. There he is. That's what he grew up to look like. He became a character actor. You may have seen him in a bunch of stuff. There he is again in Harold and Maude. Harold and Maude. Harold and Maude. That's what he grew into. Anyway, the great Bud Cort. Bud Cort's a terrific actor, man. He's a great actor. He died yesterday, 77. He starts a new death trilogy. So Bud Cort is there starting a new one. So the next two celebrities who die, oh, we're getting that AT&T Stadium 3 o'clock sun. That's what we're getting coming through. So that means we've got to wrap this up. We're going to wrap up the show today. I do want to thank our executive producer. Today's executive producer was the always incredible and the always helpful Maddie. I didn't see Maddie in the chat room today. Probably because she's busy, because Maddie's got a real life. So thank you to Maddie for helping out this show. If you want to help out the show, tip something. Like I said, I told you at the beginning of the show, this show every month needs to make $500. We are 12 days into the month of February, and we still haven't made our 500 for the last month. So if you want to tip something, that would be great. The show is going down. It is becoming more and more. Can't justify doing it if we keep. Point is, help the show if you can. Some of you are in a position to help the show. I would hope that you would. Those of you who can't help the show, it doesn't matter. Like the show, follow the show, share the show, promote the show, comment on social media when you see me posting something about the show or just in general, because all of those things collectively help the algorithm, which helps the show. So again, if you can do money's great. Drop a little something if you can. And we're going to be pushing hard the next couple of weeks because we're nowhere near where we need to go. Anyway, and again, if you can't do money, then the other thing is keep listening, keep hanging out with us, participate in the chat room, and like, follow, share, and comment. All of those things go towards helping the show. Some people can do some things, some people can do other. We'll get it done together, I guess. All right, I gotta go. I got stuff. I got people I gotta talk to. I got places I gotta be. That's it. All right, guys, have a great day, and we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow Friday? Jesus, this week went by so quick. Love ya. Bye.